That's like the sound that Britney Spears made after she blew her head off in that episode of South Park. All
Yep.
right. Unmuting to test audio. Somebody say words. Ping to test
Hi.
audio. Somebody say words. Ping to test
Hi.
audio. Somebody say words. Cool. All right. So we be good. With that being said, this is a big gay episode, so I put up a big gay stream frame, so y'all can let me know if you want to see stream frames like this again. But with that in mind, the general topic of this one is going to be the anti-LGBT planks of Project 2025 and how conservative administrations fuck over that part of the potential base. And also how these sorts of things, like, it's not precisely that Kamala would be better, but, like, it's that she's, like, at least not doing this overtly. So there's stuff in the works. We'll be discussing quite a few things. Before we do any of that, though, we'll start with the person who has not been on the channel yet. Eduardo, feel free to introduce yourself and say who you are, what you are, anything you've got going for you.
Hey, everyone. My name is Eduardo. I am from near Boston. I've basically, outside of a year in Philadelphia, I've spent my entire existence in Boston. I am a Venezuelan American, so that definitely informs my political views quite a bit, as Kevin can attest. I'm trying to decide whether I'm a right-wing classical liberal or right-wing libertarian right now. Don't worry, I don't associate with the alt-right at all. They are despicable. But, well, the ideology is despicable. The people are people with dignity, like with every human being. Every human being has dignity. Yeah, so I just thank you, Kevin, for inviting me on the podcast tonight. And I hope that we have a productive and meaningful discussion that enlightens and edifies all souls and makes us all happy and better for it.
Well, I can't guarantee the happy part. Normally there's plenty of stuff that we get angry at. But with that being said, we'll go to Bigfoot, Kevin, Hody, Bread, and Rose.
Hey everybody, I'm Bigfoot. I am a cryptid that lives in the woods and hates the government, and for the purposes of this discussion, I also am bisexual and have done the both. So, I'm a gay, I guess.
You fuck bikes. So
Like curious.
yes. Kevin.
I'm Kevin. I am the mutualist of the chat. There are dozens of us in this world. Dozens, I say.
Yes.
And I like to see myself as the voice of reason between ANCAPs and ANCOMs, though I'm sure that it doesn't always work. I'm here for anarchist unity. I am a cis ally, and I am Eduardo's best friend of 10 years. We met the day that we were both at UMass at the time that Osama bin Laden was killed by SEAL Team 6.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But UMass has a culture of basically looking for any excuse to celebrate and break stuff. So
Yep.
UMass students were out the night that bin Laden was assassinated, allegedly, by SEAL Team 6, throwing papers off of the roof, jumping into bushes, blasting music. You get the idea. And Eduardo and I showed up to partake and observe in the chaos, and he himself was expressing his patriotic sentiments in a particularly happy manner, and we just met each other and we hung out ever since. He found me on
Yes.
Facebook like 2 years later. So
Yeah.
Yay,
I wasn't-
libertarianism.
yeah, no, I wasn't ignoring him. I just don't add people on Facebook because I have a ambivalent attitude towards social media in general.
Mhm.
So Eduardo found me, which is awesome, and you found me because I was debating in libertarian circles, and you I think you added me, and then I recognized your photo. How'd that go down? Do you remember?
I believe you reached out to me. It was about Chick-fil-A. It was back in 2012. You know, the
yeah,
whole.
I do
Oh,
remember
okay.
that now.
It
I
was
thought
back
you
in
added me. No, I added
Nope.
you because of Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah, and then we by that point I was at a school called BC. Kevin can
Nice.
attest that I'm enamored with the school, but
Oh
that
my
is
God.
another story.
There's
So-
very many funny stories about that, but I don't want to derail your.
This is a beautifully gay story for the stream.
Yeah. So basically, like,
I am gay, by the way, so there's that.
Oh well, yes. I didn't want to blow the.
you didn't want to blow him. So
Oh
I didn't
my.
want to blow the honors.
So-
Eduardo, I was going to let you reveal that if you chose to during your introduction.
so
Yeah, just through.
go.
I was gonna say just through some soul searching and through some tough
Misadventures.
times. Kevin knows the details. Through some tough times, I eventually took a deep introspection of myself, and as of now, I'm gay. So there's that. Whoa.
So the just real quick before we move on from the SEAL Team 6 part, just because I have to say this, you don't throw bodies in the ocean. The ear didn't look the same on the corpse we saw, and there's no reason to believe that he was in Abbottabad, because there was no reason to believe he was anywhere that they ever said he was, and he constantly changed location and appearance, and he was a CIA
Yeah,
asset.
I'm sus about the burial at C2. The story is just literally the context of how we met. There's really
Yeah.
because we didn't know each other otherwise. We're a couple of years in school apart, and I was living on another part of campus. So that was the only way we were going to know each other, is if we ran into each other at that event, and we did, and it's been awesome ever since.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
Was the
but
one-
we can't not get sidetracked by some detail, though.
yeah, because
Yes,
like,
Fair.
of course, we have to.
and like the other half of that is that, like, I fucking hate that story, like, not your story, but the story of, like, the SEAL Team 6 thing, because all it is it's faux patriotism from people who don't ask any questions at all. Like,
Oh God, yes. And honestly, Bin Laden actually set stuff up so that if he died, the organization would still run. So it was more symbolic than anything else. Like, yes, it's all very well and good and all that stuff, but he wasn't dumb. And as we attested to in our little debate today, Al Qaeda's actually a fairly well-built organization, despite being murderous and all that.
yeah,
You know?
despite,
They're actually smart.
but yeah,
They're
like,
halfway smart about stuff.
but like, yeah, that whole, I think that's one of the many pieces of propaganda we can delve into someday, because, like, that whole story was dog shit, and it, like, that sort of thing is the reason I got into 9/11 Truth, because holy shit, is it garbage? Is that story fucking shit? There is no reason to support that story. There is no reason to believe that, like, they got Bin Laden at all.
And honestly, even if they did get Bin Laden, it's symbolic. It's, you know, he was the figurehead of the movement, but there was a whole bunch of people in Al Qaeda who he trained up, and like they had contingency plans. It wasn't like a G.I. Joe show, like where they cut off the head of Cobra. And everybody ran around. I don't know what to do
Oh,
without
if
it.
that were the case, though, you would have seen him parachute safely out of the plane before, like, it crashed. So, yeah, they would have just
Anyways,
captured him and been
so-
like, foiled again, Bin Laden.
Yeah. and every bad guy has, like, that oddly nasally voice, like, ah.
Exactly. Like, but anyway, I didn't want to go into too much detail on Eduardo's story, but he did say that part of the reason his realization in life came later is because of much of the homophobia, even in liberal New England.
Yep.
Eduardo, make sure I'm not misrepresenting your story.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
But
you're
I
right.
figured that would make you a great addition to the podcast. That's
Thank
why
you.
I got you here.
So,
Thank you.
Oh, this is perfect.
so we'll get to introductions. Bread, then Hody, then Rose, and then we'll get started.
Oh, does that mean it's my turn? Hi, I'm Bread.
Yeah.
I'm a anarchist. I'm accused of being an egoist a lot. I call it subjective anarchy. I hate adjectives. I love unity. I'm an organizer with MLTP, and we do some outreach over there. Lots of queer people in our community, and I myself am queerer than a tree full of like anything on nitrous oxide. Like, I am extremely like, I don't do gender. I'm a gender abolitionist. I do relationship anarchy. I do queer anarchy. And I'm omnisexual, just in case that matters, which basically means everything, anything. I don't really care. Gender isn't real. But yeah, like, here we are. Even though gender isn't real, we're putting that to the test now, I guess.
Well, my gender
Yeah.
is fast, so Hody.
Hey guys, I'm Hody Johns. I am sorry, guys and girls and everything in between. I'm
Gals and non-binary pals.
Yeah, I am Hody Johns. I am a Christian. I am a what would be called a queer, gay, trans affirming Christian. I don't really like the term affirming because that just means like whatever you say. Sure, you are. Look, I think that you could be a great many things, but I also think that God is there to help you create clarity on what that is. A lot of Christians, unfortunately, will tell you you're confused, when in reality, they're just the ones that are confused about you. And that is their confusion and not yours. I hope to be a better ally as much as I possibly can. I plan to spend most of this episode listening, but if there is anybody who is interested in queer liberation and queer theology from a Christian perspective, it is absolutely, I'm telling you this as a former conservative, real Bible-loving Christian, that there is not just a case for it, but it is like the de facto way to serve God. And so don't feel bad. In a way, Christians that love their gay brothers and sisters, you actually have to get out of the closet yourselves. You've been hiding out there. We all see you there. We know you want to be supporting the community, but you're hiding behind these Bible verses that you really shouldn't be. And so if there's any questions about that, my name's Hody Johns. We probably won't talk about that because we're going to be talking mostly about Gross Project 2025, but that is who I am. And I'm excited to talk to everybody.
Yeah, and the other half of all of that I find fucking hilarious is that a lot of these alleged Christians do not support the idea of people involved in these in this I guess community spectrum, whatever you want to call it, and those people will claim that there's somehow there's only two genders that God made and you can't be anything other than that. And then you bring up that there are intersex people. I literally had a conversation during a roofing job because the guy wanted to corner me on a roof about this, I guess. So we were baking in the summer sun on this roof, and we fucking had this terrible exchange that ended exceedingly poorly, where he said that that LGBT people, especially intersex, etc., are the result of generational curses and that they shouldn't be considered their own thing. And I'm like, I had to really resist the urge to just say fuck you, but I just sort of phrased it as, well, then are you saying that God made a mistake? And that Satan has more power over their genetics than God did, because if that's the case, then that's pretty fucked up, and he didn't have a really good answer for that, so it was funny. Anyway, yeah, fucking
You having a exchange that ends poorly?
yeah, right?
Never heard of
Never.
that.
Yeah, and I'm willing to do that with anybody, even though I was fucking baking. This was the third day on this roof, and I was helping this guy pin down shingles and shit, and fucking he decided to pop this subject because I had the audacity to say that one of the housemates that used to live with me was fucking probably repressing some sexuality of his own because he was always calling everybody else a fag and shit like that, and it was maybe you got some fucking issues, maybe you're confused of your own self, and if you were more honest with that, you could live that truth instead of taking it out on other people. But anyway, we'll do Rose and then we'll do Kareem.
Right. So, okay, I'm Rose, patron saint of real libertarians. I'm an anarchist without adjectives, part-time big libertarian. If you've followed this channel for any length of time, you have probably seen me before. That's about it. So I'll kick it to Kareem.
Why do you have a fish behind you, Kareem? What are you doing? You're.
I was changing backgrounds.
Well, yeah, but why are you in an office now?
It's a very zen office.
18 minutes.
I like it.
Okay, because are you jacking off in the office?
Oh my god.
What?
Yeah, see? Because you gotta.
See,
you gotta go.
He confirmed our suspicions from
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Oh,
You gotta be like.
Jesus has left the chat.
You gotta be like Jeffrey Toobin, that fucking guy, that CNN, I think, anchor, who like got caught, like he was like, feeling some kind of way after the meeting went a certain kind of way.
Like,
Kareem, I
wasn't
found your
he, like, in a
masturbation
work
anthem.
Zoom meeting?
it's like Joe Rogan said. Go out there and choke the chicken in your car. What, are you gonna live forever?
Yeah,
Have some
right.
Oh my god.
Guys, this is Kareem's masturbation anthem.
Yes.
fun. So I'm feeling
I can't
kinda-
believe
I'm
I
feeling
shared this
kinda-
podcast. I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah,
Hi,
right.
Mom.
This
Hi.
Hi, Tim Pool.
actually Pim.
We have Tim Pool on.
No,
Yeah.
it's Pim Tool.
He's bald. Minty in chat
Yeah.
says, "Hello, I saw one lunatic say queer people were the result of witches performing dark magic in schools."
Oh my god.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
And that just makes them cooler, right?
Yeah,
Like-
fucking you
You're
had to do the
really old then,
incantation.
I guess. Way older than we thought they
Yeah,
were.
what school was this? Because
Gee.
we only got taught really boring shit in public schools. Like, where were the witches?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't learn about witches in school. I feel cheated.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Kareem, I interrupted your introduction to talk about jacking off. You can go for it.
Yeah. So I'm Kareem. You can find me on Twitter at Kareem6633. You can also find my work in Anarch Unity. I post a bunch of funny stuff on Facebook, or I try to. MLTP as well. I'm going to have a debate with ThoughtBat soon. And I finished reading Rudolf Rocker's Anarcho-Syndicalism Theory and Practice today. Got through the audio book. So yeah, like Kevin, I'm a little bit ANCOMY, syndically, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, that's pretty much it right now. Oh, you can go check out my debate with Liquid Zulu on his channel as well.
See, okay.
If you want to waste time.
One thing I'll say about that.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
One thing I'll say about that is you had some good
You
things
did
to
fine.
say, but the thing is, Liquid Zulu does not do debates. He's not
Yes, he does.
interested in debates. What he's interested in is jacking off.
Uh-huh.
He wants
Yep.
to have like
Mhm.
his fucking notepad document up so that he can like have his little fucking notes that he passive aggressively writes while the stream is going, and so that he can make himself look good in front of his audience, who will then be primed to talk all the
Well-
shit like he wants them to
Yeah,
in the
the
chat.
audience is extremely toxic. That was what I learned from watching the debate.
Yeah, and like you
I
were
was following
in
the
chat.
live chat, and
I'm
holy
in his
shit,
Discord server.
God,
They're
are
all
they
pretty
simping
chill.
any harder for this guy? It's like, do you have a personality of your own, or is it just whatever this guy
Well,
says?
Exactly.
If they're chill in one place, but they're not chill in another place, they're just not chill.
Hmm.
I don't know.
And also, like the other half of that is that like this motherfucker. I'm gonna say this and then we can get started. This motherfucker was a coward on Twitter regarding like things that I like perfectly corrected him on, which was he said that child porn should not be illegal because the like government would
What
then
the
have a
Fuck.
because the government would then have a monopoly on possession of child porn because they would have to have enough of that
What
child.
the
They,
fuck?
they would have to have a copy of every image of child porn in a database somewhere in order to catch child exploitation. And I said, That's not how you catch that shit. It's hashing. That's literally he doesn't know how the tech works that the government uses. So he claimed that the government should not have a monopoly on it. So it should be legal. It should not be illegal. And he also made the case that it's not an NAP violation to own it. And so,
Well, what the
That's
fuck?
an AP violation.
Like, laws, fuck laws, but like, what the fuck?
yeah, see, like he's one of those people that just
no.
likes to die on any hill that makes him look edgy, and he just ends up looking like a cunt.
So is this the episode where you officially challenge him to debate on your channel, where he can't have his little notepad?
Maybe.
Oh no!
I mean, I
do that.
can debate him on other stuff. I don't mind if someone's taking notes or has a notepad.
I mind if they're not having the person like okay. What I just did there. What I just
You need a
did.
secretary.
If you
Or a
took
party
notes, I
assistant.
wouldn't care. I'm like, okay, or you're typing something. As long as you're not like typing something and then misrepresenting it.
Right,
but
no,
he
you
did
need
that.
a third party to take the notes who's not going to bias them.
See, here's the thing though. I don't mind notes as long as they're for you. When you're taking notes and showing your audience those notes, and those notes prime your audience to a certain type of antagonism, it's basically like straw manning and well poisoning the whole fucking time. So it's not honest. He was a dishonest hack in the stream with you, and he's a dishonest hack in many other streams, but people eat his cunt because they like it, the fucking debate bro bullshit. And so I don't like that shit. And
You know what's even worse, Jeremy? You know what I think you even hate even more?
Hmm.
Is people who use Chat GPT for
Yes.
debates. Cough, Marcus Davenport, cough!
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Excuse me, did I just cough that?
Yeah. And that's the
I do
just-
too, because, yeah, I have
I
that
was gonna
experience.
debate him
Like-
with Kareem, but then I watched the one you did with him, Jeremy, and I was like, no.
Yeah,
I don't have 4 hours of my life
do
to
not
do this.
even engage in a Facebook group, because you will be left wanting to
Just don't. You'll lose
Okay.
so much time.
yeah, and like
yeah, no,
so
I wasn't trying. I was trying to add to the story.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I remember the end of that. You were like, I don't know what the fuck you're trying to say, and I was like, wow. After 4 hours, this is gonna be a massive waste of my time.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeremy,
Well,
Yeah.
I
for
just,
proving this. I'm out.
Yeah.
yeah, like and so Liquid Zulu does everything in a debate wrong. He needs to have time, he needs to not cut people off, he needs to like not use fallacies, he needs to not have his
Have a
dumb
moderator.
notepad. Yeah, like he needs to like, and there needs to be introductory statements for everybody, closing statements, and like he complained about you going quote on, but he didn't have time, and he went on himself on a variety of those occasions.
Yeah.
So he's one of those hypocritical, like fallacious debate bro cunts, and I do not like that shit.
Yeah, I really hate that shit. It's one of the reasons why I just refuse to do debate most of the time. Like, I don't really care about debate anymore.
Yeah.
I'd
Well-
rather just have a conversation.
Either I'm having a discussion or I'm just telling you you're wrong.
Well-
like I don't debate.
I don't have a problem with debate as long as it's actual debate. This was not an actual debate. He just did the standard, like that's the thing. I don't like it
But
when
that's the culture of debate
Yeah.
now, though. Like, it's very rare to find a place or a person or a situation where it's worth it.
where it's actually intellectual instead of just somebody jacking
Well,
off.
yeah.
Where,
I
Okay.
just
as
always
opposed
think,
to
like
a
walking in, going, "Well, are you guys proud of yourself? Do you know how much praxis you could have done while you were sitting here?"
Exactly.
I connected with people, but like I'm another debate with a guy named Thoughtbat who is an anarchist. He deals with ethics, economics, all that stuff.
What is that?
I take it he has a channel. I don't think I've heard of this guy.
He does. I don't
I
know.
haven't either. I don't know who that is.
He has a few thousand subs, I think. So
He is a
That's a lot of
leftist,
subs
so,
to have.
but he doesn't like syndicalism. Or said he's not a syndicalist. He doesn't see any use for it anymore. I do. And so anyway.
So I'm going to accountable.us for this particular stream, because this is a relatively good like summary, I think, and so this first thing that we'll be discussing Project 2025 calls on the Department of Justice to defend the First Amendment right of those who would discriminate against LGBTQ plus people. It also objects to the DOJ notifying states that their bans on abortion and medical services to transgender persons may violate federal law. So, it basically, like, you can discriminate if you want. And, like, if you, like, provide reproductive health care to a transgender person, you're gonna be, like, breaking the law, and you should, like, be reported for doing that.
What does that have to do with freedom of association, though?
You know what's really
It
interesting?
doesn't have anything to do with freedom of association
How
at
is this
all,
a First
really.
Amendment? Like,
I find that very interesting, though. I find
Well,
something very interesting about that.
Go for
It's
it,
no
Kareem?
more accurate. Oh, sorry.
Whatever.
Either one
Okay.
of you.
Here's what I
You
find
go first.
interesting. They're literally using the federal government to remove protections that they stated in the federal government. One of the arguments that was presented against me a lot is I have the, not the absolute belief, but I have the generative, semi-objective belief that yes, smaller is better, because even if somebody says in town A, I don't like somebody who's trans, gay, bi, you can deal with that somehow. I'm not saying how, what. You can talk to them. It has to escalate to something more than that. That's unfortunate, but sometimes it does. But the federal government is now. I'm not saying they're putting this in the thing. They have something on the books to get rid of something.
Sorry, one moment. There is a fan going on somewhere that I believe is... Okay. That was clearly it. Go ahead, Kareem.
Yeah, so that my point is with this, the federal government's literally taking away protections they say they have in the federal government. So I think this shows that, hey, not that smaller is always better in terms of decentralization, but generally, like, if Rojava was doing a Project 2025, they could stamp it out very quickly because, well, it's smaller and you have access to who's ever doing it. So,
Or if
that's
one of
fun.
the regions gets compromised by a conservative takeover, the other two regions can somewhat isolate themselves while figuring out how to save the compromised region. Like it's like when a ship's sinking, what they'll do sometimes is they'll cut off the water from going into a certain part of the ship. So like 4 compartments got flooded, and you're like, well, you know what? 12 of them didn't get flooded, so the ship might kind of float for a bit, so we don't completely die. So
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Bread. You are muted.
This doesn't have any, like, to Rose, I was saying, this doesn't really have anything to do with the First Amendment at all. Like, this is as freaking flimsy and hollow as, like, the way that they use religious rights, like, especially here in Arkansas. Like, people can be denied medical care and shit like that under these.
Right.
And they will. It has been difficult for me to find places I can go now for things that are not related to gender affirming care. And like they're already rolling this shit out though. Like, we don't have to worry about this in the future. This is happening now. There are states right now where they're not just limiting youth, they are limiting adults up to the age of 26. They're, and that's already gone live in places, I believe. So, like, I mean,
right. Yeah, that was already
This
in
is-
things like birth control and morning after pill and stuff. Like, they were using theoretically, like, the idea that, oh, well, you can't be forced to sell something to someone because it's freedom of conscience. But here's the problem though, like, when you have a heavily regulated market where you only have, say, one hospital in town or one pharmacy chain because it's been completely corporatized, like, yeah, you don't people don't actually have freedom of choice. You can
Yeah.
effectively outlaw something, but do it under the guise of it being just the decision of a private company. But when that company has a state-backed monopoly, you can effectively outlaw something without outlawing it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Eduardo,
I
you
figured
got.
that's kind of what they were getting at there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not about protecting their First Amendment rights to speak. It's about protecting their capacity to be bigots.
Mhm.
Yeah. Eduardo, you got some?
I think Kevin and I have had this conversation in the past. Like, how far does the Civil Rights Act go? For me, I agree with his take that if you own like a bakery that's not essential for commerce, health, education, you should be allowed to discriminate. Even as a gay guy, I believe that freedom of association is very important. But if you're in the government, like, what's the name of that woman from Kentucky who tried to deny marriage licenses? Kim Davis. You gotta suck it up. You're in a public role. There's
Or
no
even
room for
one
the
step further, if you provide a good that people need to live. So if
Exactly,
you're in the
like
business
healthcare.
of if you're in the business of healthcare, you don't get to discriminate. If you are in the business of
Exactly.
dogs, if you discriminate, we'll just boycott you because there will at least be time.
Right.
Someone
Well,
won't
that
die.
should be a violation of the Hippocratic Oath. So it
Absolutely.
should be weeded out by private accrediting organizations.
Also, I'm gonna see if I can put something on screen without it killing me. Yeah, here we
Well,
go.
I mean, like,
I don't think there should be a law for. Well, here's the funny thing that everybody always asks me, "Well, Kareem, if you have private health care, well, won't people just get denied?" And they ask Ron, and I'm like, I don't know because I'm not a doctor, but like, funny enough, they asked Ron Paul that. He said, like, look, I worked at a Christian hospital. No one got denied. Nobody.
well, that's bullshit because people are denied. And it doesn't really matter who's in charge at this point. If you make it the job of the government, or you make it the job, or you look at the job of private medical situations or anything like that, it's still happening. He was wrong. It is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think like he meant under like a free market.
Yeah.
Well, maybe under a free market, perhaps. Like, honestly, I want companies to tell us that they're horrible so we can boycott them.
Yes.
Put a target on your own back.
And it's
I
like,
really would like to know who they are because they go on my list, and I won't buy anything from them.
Name them and defame them.
Ron Paul's
Yeah.
never wrong about anything. How's that possible?
Yeah, right? Yeah, we got a hero
Ron
worship.
Paul is okay, I guess, but like he's
Ron
not
Paul is the
right about
best human
everything.
being who will never
Yeah.
If
Curtis,
I don't
Texas.
if I don't spend 800 hours a week with my mouth wrapped firmly around Ron Paul's rod, I can't fucking survive in the libertarian movement.
Look, the only free folk whose dick I would go after is probably like Nestor.
That's how I described Ron Paul to my mom. I said, he's the nicest old man who just never will leave 1830s Texas. He made me into a libertarian, and I like him as a person, but I'm like, dude, can you just take a nap and let the rest of us who live in the 21st century, like, do stuff? That'd be
Hey,
so
Oh
man.
my
nice.
god.
I have a lot of respect for him because he kind of helped mainstream a lot of
Well,
libertarian
no doubt.
ideas. But
Yeah,
he's
well,
also
sure,
not
that's
God,
fine.
and a lot of people
Right,
in
he's
the
Liberty
Libertarian
Grandpa.
Party
Like,
forget this fact on a regular basis.
Yeah.
The way I see it, you respect and love your grandpa, but sometimes you want him to just go drink his prune juice and take a nap because you want to get stuff done in like today's world with today's tools that you get. And that's kind of how I feel about Ron.
Well,
I
my
cannot relate. My grandparents were awesome.
my beef with Ron Paul is basically that he's surrounding himself with kind of the worst, and he also has a history of surrounding himself with kind of the worst. Whoever wrote those newsletters, whoever ran his Twitter account when they posted that anti-Jew meme, whoever, like, and now he's got this guy who, like, runs a site called the Daily Putin as the director of his Institute of Peace and Prosperity. So that seems to me like the wrong way to go. And, like,
Well, how much control does he actually have? Like, does he even know what Twitter is, though? Like, I don't know. How many of these people
Why
actually
does that
have
matter?
control?
Like, why should, like, what kind of free folk allows people to do that for you? Especially if you don't know how it fucking works and you can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would a free folk give that much control to somebody else? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It didn't make sense to me that he also gave control of his newsletter to anyone else. Like, nothing in my name will ever be somebody else. Holy fuck, ghostwriting!
So
I do not
so
trust
wait,
anybody.
There's never going to be a homeschooling curriculum with your name on it that you actually had nothing to do with.
No.
Okay.
Well, I get it if, like,
You could
you know,
make
like,
one.
our community does some things, like, all hands can, like, multiple hands can touch things and do things and shit, and we do it as a group, but, like,
The group is what's
Yeah, you
labeled, not a
shouldn't-
person.
well, yeah, and everything's through consensus, so, like,
Yeah.
we're not giving control to anybody, you know, it's just, that just seems really, weird.
It is weird. It's
Prudence.
not something that a lot of people do, but one thing, you know,
Well, it's something too many people do, actually.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not something many people do in Liberty circles. What they should do in Liberty circles is rise above that and have the standard to be like, we're going to be genuine and authentic in ourselves the whole time. We should be
Yeah.
like a different sort of person and not be the kind of person who... I have like 800 staff and I don't know... The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing and that's why it's jacking off. Like, it's very bad. Nothing about
The
it is
George
good.
Michael's Careless Whisper played poorly on a recorder.
Exactly.
The only time
I
that
do
thing is...
suspect,
I guess
respectfully,
the only time it's good for you not to know what each hand is doing when you're trying to decentralize.
Yeah. But like...
I do
Well,
suspect
one
that there's
hand
a
can't
there's
wrap
a
the other
difference.
hand into the feds then, so yeah.
Yeah.
And I do suspect there's a difference between Ron Paul the person and Ron Paul the brand. Which
Yes.
is sort of what we were talking about earlier, and he should know more about his own brand. But I also suspect that there's like Ron Paul doesn't always own every inch of his own name, and there's
Yeah,
probably
that's a fair.
trademark
you know,
corporation something.
He's just learning from the Hillary Clinton school. He has a public and private position.
Yeah, I'm
So-
sorry. Like, if if it's your label and it's doing shit like that, and you're not playing an active role or at least keeping an eye on it, then it's your reputation.
Yeah.
He's 9. Like, give it a break. Or 89. That's not that big a deal.
It is that big a deal. But
It is.
He's 90.
we can move on to the next plonk.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Hey, kid.
Okay, but I still like the homeschool curriculum idea.
Well, if I did a homeschool curriculum, I would probably do something similar to like just I would make it all relating to the Sonic franchise somehow. I would create a homeschool curriculum, but it would be like you would have
The
to
School of Fast.
yeah, you would have to like understand like all of the hidden intricacies and philosophical implications and geopolitical ramifications of every issue of the Sonic comic. And that would prepare you for life.
Your physics class is just Sonic going really fast, and you have to calculate where
You
he's
have
going
to
to
like
end up.
calculate like
Yep.
angles and
Okay, we're gonna
trajectories.
launch Sonic out of this thing and make him a big blue ball. Use X and Y vectors
Exactly.
to determine where he's gonna end up.
And when you do the vectors, you have to make the vectors the actual crocodile character from the game, and then it's Vector the crocodile, just but a line. You just stretch vector, a vector, a vector.
Oh god, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah. So the next plank under discussion is that Project 2025 recommends the next Department of Health and Human Services Secretary reverse the focus on LGBTQ+ equity, subsidizing single motherhood, disincentivizing work, and penalizing marriage, replacing such policies with those encouraging marriage, work, motherhood, fatherhood, and nuclear families. Project 2025 Playbook laments the fact that family policies and programs under President Biden's are fraught with agenda items focusing on LGBTQ equity, making it clear that they intend to roll those agenda items back.
So
Well-
the nuclear family is not going to be a thing again until you fix the money. Okay?
Yes.
Why is this so difficult for people?
Because they would
Well-
rather not solve the actual problems with the
Yes.
economy that
Well-
are keeping people from fucking.
Well, yes.
Well, the only real purpose of the nuclear family is to keep the workforce alive so that they can continue to exploit it.
That too.
So
yes.
I'm not at all surprised that they view queer people as a threat because they think that queer people don't raise kids, which is a bunch of bullshit.
Yes, I mean that was the
Like
case
we have kids and we raised other people's fucking kids as our own, and you know, like, but they see that us as a threat to the population. They even blame us as they say that we're being used for population control. So like they feel a threat. In queer people, they see a threat to the workforce.
It's worse than that too, because these people are
Oh yes, that's just the fucking tip of the iceberg.
These people are fucking cunts, alright? Because here's the deal. If you are an unbearable person with the worst personality traits, and if you spend all of your time hating people online and making memes that you think are dank, and you're not forming a personality or connections with your neighbors, and your job is collecting a government check so that you can keep posting dank shit online and all this stuff, if you are this kind of person and your room has 10 piss bottles in it that all have a MAGA hat but of a different variety for a different one, if you worship like fucking Nick Fuentes, like all of this shit, right? If you're this kind of person,
no sé dónde está Carlos.
you are not muted, by the way. I don't know if you meant to mute, but
Eduardo, if you're talking to your dad, mute yourself, all right?
But
Get space.
But basically, the thing that I'm saying is these kinds of people are often the kinds of like no life, like low energy shut-ins that people wouldn't want to fuck to begin with, and then they complain about population control. They say you're the carbon that they want to reduce, and they're right, but they're also fucking stupid and not willing to solve their own problems before they're not doing Matthew 7:4 shit. They're not pulling the plank out of their own eye before examining the speck in their brother's. They're not doing this shit because that would involve actually improving their own station so that they're not a bitter piece of shit who hates gays. And
if I ever met anybody who actually told me that, I would say no. I promise you, money has far more to do with the reason I don't have kids right now.
Well, consider yourself.
Oh God, yeah.
You haven't actually met someone like that. Yeah, no, they constantly blame everyone else for the fact that they don't have their little nuclear family, which they consider a sort of personal fiefdom. Like they have a wife to greet them at the door with a martini every day, and they have kids. Yeah. But they also don't actually want to put in the work. Like they don't like the idea that like you have to earn a lot of money and work super hard to make it happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just want to.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is all just a push forward for RTT. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a concept of it's the return to tradition crap the fascists do.
Yeah. It's exactly that. Oh, Reinhold, if I can Facebook you a link if you want to join. But Reinhold in chat says they want a mother or maid, not a partner.
I mean,
bang maid.
Well, here's the issue: is Uncle Ted,
go for it,
said, "Look, all these conservatives that are like, and even actually." To his credit, Myron Gaines has talked about this. All these conservative influencers are like, we're going to go back to the 1950, white picket fence. Let's go. Woohoo. Technology's advanced so much, and I think the thing with social media, TikTok, all this stuff is going to make it quite difficult to go back to...
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
No, I know exactly. I don't mean to interrupt, Kareem. I know what you're talking about, and it's a wicked good point. Conservatives love capitalism without realizing how socially disruptive capitalism really is.
Yeah, they're like...
Also, just real quick, before we move on, fuck Myron Gaines. God damn. If that's one... And
Uncle Ted.
I mean, Myron Gaines is just... Uncle Ted has insightful, interesting things to say. Myron Gaines does not. He's just a cunt. He's one of those people. He's one of those people that we could talk about because he's constantly just shitting on women and being a generally noisome and unlikable person. And then he has the audacity to say that women won't fuck people because of fucking money or fucking like a lack of fucking, knowing their place and a bunch of shit like this. But then he says directly, yeah, Myron Gaines is one half of Fresh and Fit. He's a piece of shit. And like the whole like Fresh and Fit vibe is it's women's fault the way society is going downhill, and if women would know their place and let men be men, we'd be awesome. It sucks. He sucks.
No, because okay.
Yeah, the
but
whole
this
point is
RT
basically Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Here's my honest opinion from experience, not just like guessing. RTT is never coming back in the United States or the West, the quote-unquote collective West, Canada, Australia, the United U.S., a lot of European countries. If somebody wants RTT, then it would probably be somewhere else, some culture that, some Asian culture, some Slavic culture that still might say, hey, we want that. I'm not saying wrong or right. I'm just saying...
And before we move on, you're using jargon. What's RTT for the audience?
Well, Brad used it, and they were saying return to tradition.
Right.
And I think the whole let's get back to nuclear family, the 1950s, the picket fence is just not working. I don't think it's going to work because of the reasons Ted highlighted. And if you look at forget Fresh and Fit, pick anything. Like I've seen a million of these videos where people use social media. Social media does
Sushi media.
Yeah. They give social media the illusion of perceived value, perceived subjective value. So you're like, oh, I posted one thing. I got 1 million likes. Great. Good. And then and some people will take that and say, wow, I got 1 million likes. I could be dating a celebrity. Well, celebrities don't want to date you. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
There's not and I don't see a... I think somebody studied the Amish, which is an anarchist group, and they don't use social media.
Amish.
They're not anarchists.
Nope.
To me, they are.
Well, you're wrong.
They're closer to, than some other groups, but they've definitely got some aspects of central control.
I mean, I get it. But here's the thing. Like, if I go in MLTP and start saying, like, man, I don't like them gays or something, then you'll have people vote in a consensus and they kick me out. Now,
we don't vote. We just talk about it.
I mean, like, okay, yeah, but we have a discussion, I think. So to me, like, everything's going to have, like, some central... Chron has some voting. Rojava
well, Chron's not anarchist either, and neither is Rojava.
I mean, like, it's pretty
Stop
good.
trying to cram things that are not anarchy into anarchy. Like, I get, like, things that are similar to anarchy. I get things that are, like, proto-anarchy and stuff like that. But they're not anarchy.
Yeah.
It's okay to, like, reference them. But don't call them anarchy. That's misinformation.
And like Rojava is a good example. It's got some great founding principles. It's got some good base libertarian ideas as part of its founding notions. It's got like religious and sexual liberty. It's got like better shit than other countries in the region. Absolutely, well, other regions in the region anyway, because it's just a decentralized region. But like in the end of it, the day, it's democratic. It's confederalism. It's not anarchy. And in doing so, they've got government structures that if you don't adhere to, you're not going to be part of it. So it's one of those. Chris Baker, introduce yourself.
That's Chris.
Hello, Chris Baker. I also have Fathead Forum. I haven't been on here in a while, but it's interesting to be back. I can tell you based on my own personal contact with him that Myron Gaines is a moron.
Yes.
But there are.
Elaborate.
Well, just he didn't know who some people were, and I'm like, you don't know who these people are? That's kind of what surprised me, I guess.
Who are those people?
I think Myron once said he was Muslim and he didn't know who Ilhan Omar was.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, sure.
So that kind of, I'm really going on memory.
Is that normal? I don't know. What is
You know,
normal? I mean, is that
I've been connected with some of the red pill communities, and the best thing I can say about the red pill communities is 95% of them completely and totally rejected all of the corona bullshit from the beginning.
Yeah, but that's because they're part of a community
but not
where
for
they
the
want.
right reasons.
Yeah.
They just did it because they
Yeah.
were told to, and they didn't even have good for it. It was so brain rot.
Yeah, and they're the kinds of
Yeah,
people who are going to use the.
contrarianism. And unfortunately, that's probably why there's so many of them still integrated with our community now, because I'm constantly coming across them.
Yeah, like that cunt the other day.
So I don't believe masks should be
Gross.
mandated, but after Corona, whenever I got sick, I wore a mask out because I could just sneeze without putting my elbow up. I thought it was pretty practical.
I'm very torn on the whole return to tradition thing because, I guess it's because I'm 50 years old now. And if I'm ever in a coma or something, I honestly don't know who I can depend on.
Yeah.
Okay, so
If you have
return
no
to
wife or no
tradition
family,
is not just
all by
returning
yourself.
to tradition, though. Like,
I have
return to tradition is not just returning to a traditional thing. Return to tradition is like a whole concept, and it's like their heritage to the Aryan heritage and shit like that. Return to
Europa.
tradition is a Nazi thing. It is a
Europa.
Nazi thing.
Yeah.
We have to save
Yeah, they want
Europa.
to return to traditional values within the context of a homogenous
Of the Aryan society.
right.
I'm not.
Not even white
I've heard this
society, just
phrase before. I know there's
Yeah.
plenty of idiots out there. I mean, that's one thing. The red pill guys are pretty much not racist at all. They're all unified in what they believe has to be. I mean, they talk about race, but they're not. I don't think they're racists.
I've seen plenty of racism
I've run
from
into
them.
plenty of them that are racist.
I think there's
lots
overlap.
of them.
Yeah. There's overlap between
But
communities.
there is one thing I've asked though. If people from the North Sentinel Islands were magically transported into a libertarian society, would they automatically become libertarians?
That's a very special case, to be fair. That is an extremely weird situation, the North Sentinelese. And frankly, actually, interesting fact, there's a theory that a particularly a British lord who did not particularly respect sexual consent for anyone on that island ruled it in the 1800s. And there's a theory, I can't remember where I found it, and I'll try to find it later, guys, just to or everybody, not just guys. But that's why they're so phobically afraid of outsiders, is because this guy would molest them, basically, back in the 1800s.
Well, there were people
There's a
who did it at
possibility
one
on all
point.
this.
And
I
then-
understand what you're saying. I'm just.
I'm pointing out that is a very extreme example.
I'm just, I am a libertarian, but I acknowledge that that the overwhelming majority of this planet does not want to live in a libertarian society.
Yet.
And I'm not
Okay,
going to pretend that they do.
There's one thing you're not considering is that a lot of people have said that. Then I look at cultures and I say, look, maybe they're not necessarily pulling up Rothbard books. Maybe they're not pulling up
Which in
Kropotkin
some cases
books or
for the
something.
best.
But here's the interesting thing. Most people don't want to be coerced. Most people don't like when you coerce them. Most people also don't want to coerce other people. So while they're not scholastically libertarian, a lot of people are like, you'll find like the Zapatistas aren't going to be like, man, I'm an ANCOM. You want to come to my Kropotkin study? But they've meshed their local culture with some anarchist traditions.
And
Which
I
is a-
also, I'm interrupting.
Go for
Cody,
it.
do you have your hand up?
I need to stop doing that. I'm sorry. Keep
No, I
going.
just wanted to make sure you weren't. All right.
I was going to say, and I would say that 90% of them could be very easily manipulated into supporting mass murder.
Well,
Whether they be Israelis,
they already
Americans,
do.
Germans,
They
Yeah.
already do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do. Yeah, I mean, like, could be. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right?
They already do
Hody.
on a daily basis.
So what we're talking about with this particular plank is a situation that Christians should be able to relate to and reject, because what they're saying is,
Yeah.
for the family to come back, what we need is for the government to offer this, that, and the other incentives. We need them to, supply child tax credit to the straights, but not to the gays. We need to make sure that, hey, healthcare is going to these and these people that have, straight issues like, for example, their depression medication and help sleeping. But anything that's like trans related, I don't know if we should be covering that kind of medication. Here's the problem, is they're trying to coerce their way into the truth. When if you read the Bible and you look at the book of Acts and Romans and all the epistles of Paul, Christianity makes its appeal to the outside world based on Christianity and Christianity alone being appealing to that outside world. This is why the emperors and stuff had a huge problem with Christianity, because it was so appealing to their base. It was so incredible and so transformative to people that they were like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Sign me up for that. I want a piece of that Christian action. So the thing is what Project 2025 is doing is saying we want to keep Christianity. And instead of doing what Paul did, where he's like, hey, guys, like you look at what he said in Titus, you're not temperate, you're not mild, and all your community hates you guys. So maybe work on being like kinder, better people. But Christians don't want to do that. We want to be able to be assholes, and we want the government to help us be assholes. Mm-hmm. And so what we do then is we have to have the government just be like, hey, stop this lifestyle from being able to exist on the same grounds. Like ultimately, if you really are preaching a better life, then people are going to choose your life. And if you need the government to help you do it, you're doing something inherently anti-biblical.
And anti-libertarian.
And, I mean, obviously anti-libertarian. Yes. I mean, Project 2025 is not going to appeal to any libertarians anyway. I'm just explaining why even as, like, Christian, you should not be considering it. Like, yeah, it's not what's done in the Bible. What's done in the Bible is Christians introspected, and they said, what's going to make people join us? Oh, I know. How about we bring healing to people, bring education, bring love to people? And instead, what we have is a bunch of, renegade Republicans that are trying to LARP their Christianity and say, oh, yeah, this is what Christianity can do for us through the government.
Exactly.
That's not at all what it is. Christians need to return to a place where your Christianity becomes unstoppable because it is so appealing to other people. And if you think, appealing to the others means appealing to the world, go back, read your New Testament, read Paul again, read the epistles. Keep in mind, he could be writing to the Emperor of Rome and telling Rome how to change, but he's not. He's looking at the church and telling the church how to change.
Yeah,
and that's what we need to do as Christians.
And just real quick, if you out there think you can be a Christian and support Trump, you're a cunt. Because Trump...
When you're a fool.
Trump is anti-Christian in every... Like, if you want to say, I'm doing harm reduction, we can argue about that. Because, I think certainly Kamala's done some significant terrible things. Kamala and Biden have done some terrible things for liberty. You could make the case, maybe, that Trump would be better for that, maybe, even though I think that they're either commensurate or maybe Trump is a little worse. But, the general vibe that I would convey is, if you want to say, I'm supporting Trump in terms of the presidency because I think he'd be better than Biden / Kamala / whoever else, maybe that might make some measure of sense. But if you want to support him on a Christian basis, go fuck yourself. Eat shit.
Yeah, if you're Christian and you're running behind Trump, you're an idolater.
Yep. Oh, and
Jeremy, I want to take a picture of you with that entire quote and then just put it at the bottom. Jeremiah Harding, 2024 colorized.
Yeah, right.
Oh well, yeah. His campaign slogan was going to be "Eat shit."
Yeah, so, right.
Eat shit, bitch.
Yeah, Minty in chat, by the way, says the only way these trads would get their 1950s dream world would require a totalitarian dictatorship to force their way of life. Pretty much. But they don't care because,
then, all of it would just go underground.
Yeah.
That's why Nick Fuentes really, I don't even know hands now. Nick Fuentes is like, I don't like Trump now because he's, I obviously I'm pro-Palestine, but I don't like Trump now because he's not, this or that, or he's not doing it, which, okay, war with Iran's a legitimate concern, but all these trad cons, these paleo cons want to push, hey, well, if we just get the right-wing government in, we can have a 1950s thing. And here's the thing, even if they did, I'll even give them the conditional, benefit of the doubt. John Doyle, Nick Fuentes, whoever else, the Groypers get their perfect candidate, perfect Congress. We still have these.
Not gonna happen.
And we still have these. Like, to me, it's very clear to me in Ted's writings, whether you think he did the right method, whether you think he was, great with his personal relationships. I'm not going to debate. But I do believe once you integrate a certain amount of technology, going back to this quote unquote tradition thing just isn't gonna work. Like, I remember interviewing when I was like 21 and said, like, if social media goes away, and this is just at the start of Facebook, I had a cartoon comic of a guy holding up a poster saying, "Want to see my vacation pics?" Because people were like, well, the attention I got from social media, I need to replicate. So, like, when Facebook went down, there were people freaking out, and it was only for an hour and a half. And that's Facebook too. They're not good. Even Zuckerberg admitted, hey.
My Discord username is Promethean Paladin because since I work in technology, it's a reflection of my belief in the disruptive and liberatory power of technology, and one of the reasons I choose to work in technology. And Prometheus, for his crime of disrupting society, was sentenced by the god to have his entrails eaten by vultures for all of eternity. So
wait, that's you? I didn't know it was you.
Yeah.
Promethean Paladin is me.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose the name, is because I'm a Promethean Paladin as a technology worker. Yes, it's a little LARPy, but it's Discord and I wanted to have fun.
My Discord name is Smealm because I started the account in order to fuck with somebody who was sexually harassing a friend of mine, and he eventually deleted his account, so it worked. But I had this gross Sonic.exe profile picture, and I chose the name Smealm because it's also gross. So, Bigfoot.
It took me.
But no, I only
pronounce it correctly.
I only mentioned that story to tell Kareem that I was even thinking about that before he talked about it. That, like, technology can liberate people and protect people, and
yes, it does.
Encryption keep people safe when they use their digital devices.
On the other side of that coin, I'm not really an NPRIM, but I will say that if you believe in the greater solar event coming within the next 100 years, it's probably going to be more of a case of rebuilding from primitive technology as opposed to using advanced technology to secure anarchy, because at some point the sun's going to get mad and our entire electrical world will go dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
it might.
So there's going to be no using swarm technology to overcome the ECP and overcome resource scarcity.
I don't know if we have to worry about that anytime soon.
We're gonna go back to primitivism because, like, we have so much technology at this point where we can literally just build our own shit, like in our yards, and rebuild our grids. We have the capacity. We have the technology. We can make it better,
faster, stronger.
See, but they don't like it when you're too fast.
I did it in the wrong order. I fucked up the quote.
Oh, that's all right.
And Kareem, I just have to say, I like the fact that when you said clear, your phone was fading into your green screen. That was funny.
I'll tell you what, President Jill Stein will help us rebuild.
Oh my god.
No. We need Marianne
more
Williamson.
presidents.
I have limited.
Only vermin can save us now. Only vermin.
I have limited problem with what Jill Stein has said, but definitely not one of the more likely things.
Who here has read the Kaczynski Manifesto?
Me? Why?
I just wondered. I might want to do a show talking about it. So.
Okay. So if we wanted to do it,
you found your guy right here.
While we're talking about this guy, that he had a severe problem with consent.
Yes, he did.
And he hated anarchists and hated anarchy. Ted Kaczynski.
You wrote about
so, like, he was not a good. He's not a great example of anarchy. I'm not trying to say that he didn't say something that was prolific. I'm just saying that, like, we shouldn't be as free folk, like, platforming him like he was more than a victim of the government and circumstances and MLK. I mean, MK Ultra shit. MLK Ultra. What the heck? I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
So it's three things. First
off,
him
up as somebody who has some wisdom that's worth reading.
Yeah. First off,
some wisdom.
if you wanted to make a badass alternate history thing about like a born identity version of MLK Ultra would be fucking excellent. Second off, the second thing that I'll say is if I did a stream for Ted K shit, it would be a stream where people were allowed to be critical of him as well and bring up his flaws. I'm not gonna be like, I don't glaze motherfuckers. Like I would definitely have like the nuanced allowance there. And the third thing is, I have not only read his manifesto, but I've also read like probably 80% of his essays and other writings. And let's just say it affects the way I'm cynical asshole about shit. And it also confirmed a significant amount of my doomer bullshit. So I'll be the better version of Ted K, and I'll totally not do what he didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, you
at
could
least
totally
one
be better
person
than
I
that.
believe that you're MK Ultra as well. Like
Yeah, right?
one person,
It's so-
yeah, they said that they could tell by your eyes that you were influenced by MK Ultra.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
the-
that's right. I forgot. You're like one of those MK Ultra sleeper agents or something, right?
Yeah,
So
these
we just need to figure
One
out
day
what
they're
trigger
gonna
phrase
show
is
up
to
and they're gonna be
activate
like
them.
pastrami, echo, violet, like orangutan 26.
Yeah,
and
right?
he's gonna flip on all of us.
Yeah, like, and these are the same eyes that Jocelyn Glaybach said are why she carries. The redheaded libertarian.
Oh my God.
The
Yes,
redheaded
Joseph,
libertarian literally said that
Ooh.
my eyes are why she carries.
Maybe she likes you.
This is like when we had that acquaintance
No,
who
she
said that they could tell that people were feds because of their eyes.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh my God.
I know who you're talking. I know exactly who you're talking about.
When's
And
it-
the person
fed
in
under the
question,
bed
their
shit is
eyes
so
were not fed
stupid.
eyes at all.
No, it's because
What
Noah
is a
doesn't
fed
take great
eyes? What
pictures
are
because
fed
he's awkward.
eyes?
We love him for it.
I
I
don't
would
know
expect
what
them
even
to be
is
at least
that.
somewhat piercing and have some depth to them, and like I can't describe it. They'd have to look a certain way for me to think that they might be fed eyes.
Mm.
No, I'm laughing
Yeah, I don't
because
know what
Oh,
fed
this-
eyes are.
yeah, I
the
think
acquaintance said that about our
that's
friend
not a
Noah.
thing, though.
And Noah's just an awkward 23-year-old. Like, it's not.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you're like
know.
talking about the nicest person.
Well, okay, so he would
That
actually
was
be
awesome.
a really unassuming fed, though. I guess.
I put the exact definition of fed eyes if anybody's curious.
What?
Is that a
It's
thing?
it's literally just people who have military bearing and have a I guess a military way of analyzing environments. It's very noticeable if you've been trained in a similar way, but basically like the average person is generally only looking at speaking figures and noticeable objects in the environment. A fed will be constantly scanning the environment, looking at minor details all the time and only making eye contact in order to like maintain the conversation, but not really paying attention as much as just constantly looking around. It's
Wait,
an
so we're all
analytic.
feds on
Well,
this?
shit. Does that mean I'm a fed?
Yeah, are you calling me out?
I guess like we're all
Yeah,
feds
you're
like, for
feds.
looking around and being hyper aware of situations.
I'm
We're all
always
feds
amazed.
here. We're all feds here.
Exactly.
That's
I'm
what we
always
say.
amazed at the harsh judgments that people make based on somebody's eyes. It seems so weird to me.
Well, you know, I don't.
I'm sorry, but usually when I see people make judgments like that, I just assume that they're really not smart.
I see my.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
so
not. I mean,
so
you know, it's
so
Still admit that's stupid, but like if you're actually in someone's presence and you notice a certain way that they hold themselves, like I could see somebody who's been in the military from a mile away because of the way they walk and carry themselves, and I'm right, 85%.
Well,
of the
yeah,
time.
but that's not just. There's a lot more into it than just your eyes. Like we're talking about judging someone by their eyes alone. That's silly.
well. Sometimes you just I don't really judge people by their. It's so I think I'm actually I'm judgmental
I
in
think
some
judge
areas,
people
but
by
then
a
I'm not
lot of
judgmental in
shit.
other areas. I don't understand. Also this attitude why everybody is a package deal now. I mean, I can agree with some of the things in the manifesto and disagree with the things that the man did. I mean, those are separate things. It's not a package deal.
Nobody said that it was a package deal, but when we bring up the good shit, we need to bring up the bad shit too, because there are a lot of people out there who do not know about that part.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
real quick though.
Also, the fact that he gets called Uncle Ted.
But you know,
To note some level.
Yeah, we shouldn't be
if I'm-
calling
That's
it
a little
Uncle
cringe.
so if I talk about an
Every
actor's
movie
good
is
movies, I
valuable.
have to talk about his bad movies too. I mean, is
I
that what
typically
you're
do,
saying?
but it's
Yeah.
funny. Bigfoot,
Well,
real
when we're
quick.
talking about something that's serious like this, then yeah, you should acknowledge the bad when you're platforming somebody.
Eh,
Like if you're introducing, like we're on a podcast for people who have potentially never heard of these people before. And if you're going to only bring up the positive parts about them and not talk about the negative parts about them, then, you know, you're kind of misleading people.
it
Maybe
does
not
make sense.
intentionally, but that's what it
So
does.
if Ty Cobb puts out let's obviously he couldn't do it, but said if Ty Cobb had put out a tutorial on how to hit a baseball, he'd also have to tell everybody that he was a racist. I mean, you know,
Well, I mean, like, honestly, if there's a guy who's a racist and everyone's talking about how good he is at something, somebody should bring up the fact that he is also racist just so that people fucking know. So, yeah.
And if he stands behind his racism, it shouldn't be a problem anyway.
This is literally an internet phenomenon. The duck, like you guys remember that joke?
Milkshake duck.
Milkshake duck. Yep.
Yeah.
Here's an adorable tweet of a duck drinking a milkshake. 10 seconds later, hey guys, the duck.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think that it's a really big problem that we, as free folk, do not like addressing the whole, like all the elephants in the room.
Yeah.
And we'll act defensive, like if somebody else points out the good or the bad. If you're talking about, like, if I'm talking about the bad, and somebody walks in, and this is just an example, I don't do this, but like, and somebody walks in and says something good about the person, I'm not under attack. And that person, you know, like, their actions are their actions, but like, we shouldn't be like handing people stuff without disclaimers, because we're trying to like put a message out there, we're trying to discuss stuff, we're trying to teach people. So like, why half-ass do it? That's what the government does.
It's like when Rothmus put out this, and Rothmus is just a cunt anyway. But like, it's when Rothmus it's when Rothmus put out this fucking tweet where he was like tweets like article headline screen sharing like somebody, and what this guy is, oh, he ate meat in front of vegans. What a trigger. But this guy's Farage, he fucking like admitted to like not thinking that, like, let's just say age of consent is lower than 18, and he also admitted to like molesting a girl while she was drunk. So it's like, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. He also got his subscribers to send him their blood so that he could drink it on camera. And he had issues with like certain things being described as rape, which are rape, and a variety of other things. Yeah. And so, yeah, sure, he ate fucking meat, but that doesn't mean that he should be celebrated. Eating meat is not a personality, and if your personality sucks, then I don't care if you ate meat in front of vegans. In fact, the vegans that he ate meat in front of were often kids, which he shouldn't be around. So, you know... Yeah. Fucking Rothmus didn't take down this tweet, and the original page that shared this thing was a branch off from Liberty Memes, which is a very popular Facebook meme sharing circle jerk thing. And that guy like shared this thing on a new page that Liberty Memes was promoting called Carnivorous Prime or some shit like that. So it's just this big giant circle jerk where this guy got promoted who's literally a rapist pedophile and a general piece of shit with really terrible ideas in general. But nobody wanted to talk about that, and when I brought this up over and over and over, it didn't change shit. This meme stayed up. Mm-hmm. So, fucking, that's the culture that we have to oppose.
And I mean, like, just so that you know, like, my entire ideology...
Sorry, what?
Oh, God.
Oh, do I dare ask what his views are on the age of consent?
He believes that that once a girl is physically mature, she's a woman, which basically means
yeah, like 9.
Yeah, and so he thinks like maybe 14 could be it. He thinks that maybe it could be younger. He's like Epstein pills.
Oh
God.
But he's a carnivore, so he's a carnivore, and he eats meat in front of vegans, so he's based.
So I see kind of both
Well,
sides of
and-
it, because I think there are a lot of people who have, like, they've had some very good ideas, they've written some very good theory, but they were highly flawed.
Yeah.
So I think we should be able to take, like, the good things that they
Yeah.
had, but also acknowledge these were flawed
keep
people.
them.
They didn't always have the right takes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man,
as a technology
I was
guy-
actually about to say that, Rose, because, like, honestly, that's how I built my ideology, like, and my philosophy and my theology, like, all of that. You know, I take the good and I leave the bad, but I acknowledge them both and I use them both in my teaching to others.
Right. Basically,
So
all
something-
my favorite anarchists, they had some, like, they all had takes that I disagree with. They also had some very good takes. So,
Yes. But we just
Yeah,
need to be
as-
very clear
as-
about the fact that Uncle Ted is not an anarchist, and we
Right.
should not be pretending that he is. And there is a big, huge misconception out there amongst free folk, especially the people who are still learning, that he is. And he was very clear about that himself.
Yeah,
no,
as
it
a
only
technology-
becomes a
before I walk
problem,
away, may I
like,
make a
when...
point?
Oh,
Go ahead.
let's do one time, man.
We queer people, we've come a long way, but we need to have an uncomfortable conversation about two people in particular, Harry Hay and John Money. I'll be right back, but both of them absolutely advanced queer theory and made ourselves visible, but Harry Hay did consulting work for NAMBLA. He was a pedophile, and John Money basically was a conservative conspiracy theorist dream come true. He did a surgery on a minor who did not want the surgery. Did they have great ideas? Yes, but to their point, we need to have some very uncomfortable conversations
Oh, yeah.
and realize these people are bad. They have contributions, but we need to make sure that these people are not venerated like gods. I'll be right back.
100%. 100%. I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
a lot about like the individuals. I think I mean, like, I know about some of the stuff that they put out there, but
Well,
I don't really know much about their history.
I feel
And
like
that's something that we should be teaching each other and stuff.
yeah, I feel like that's a stream on its own. Like we could really delve
Maybe
into
we
some of
could.
we like
That might be a fun
we
stream.
I'll like go study it.
we could get like
Honestly,
we could get a bunch of LGBT people on the same stream to disavow these motherfuckers and prove the conservatives wrong.
that's good.
We'll just talk about it. Yeah, because it's serious shit that needs to be talked about. It's just like, you know, we don't. The thing is, like, people with status mindsets that allow the media to like feed them their ideas and stuff like that. They don't do nuance, and they don't actually even act like they believe that others can do nuance. And when you do nuance, they just blue screen and short out,
Heh, doo-doo.
or start screaming and throwing things. Like, I've seen both.
Yeah.
You know, it's on a rare occasion you get someone who actually like accidentally jumps the track in response to it, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love to fucking help people jump the track. But yeah, they don't see the world in shades of gray like it is. They see it in black and white, and that is it.
I'm actually very interested in Ted Kaczynski's criticisms of technology, even though I work in tech. I feel like he might see me as the agent of the enemy or whatever. I feel like if you actually comb through what he writes, he's more scared of how technology can be used to do social dominance than he is of technology itself. And it reminds me of when I had a... Yeah.
I was just say, if we talk about actual ANPRIMs and stuff like that, like ANPRIM groups out there in the wild, no pun intended, haha, will, like, you know, they're not against people using technology to help themselves or anything like that. They will take you to the hospital if you fucking need it. But they don't like industrialized technology and industrialized society. A lot of it has to do with the industrialization of and how it has affected our growth in such horrible ways and all this other shit, you know, like
Right, so that might be a bit of a strong answer.
Oh, also, so Eduardo,
It's been.
sorry, go Bigfoot.
No, I was saying I
Yes.
gotta go, guys, but it's. No.
Ah, good,
Y'all
gotcha.
have a good one.
Be well. Thank you.
Oh, my friend.
Eduardo, real quick. So we're thinking of doing a full stream on that specific subject. So we'll hold off on that for now, and we'll do a full.
Hurricane.
We'll do a
Yeah,
full.
let's do a whole one.
We'll do a whole stream on a bunch of figures with a bunch of LGBT people on the stream, and we'll like.
I have some people we can add to it too.
Yeah. And we'll like go down the list of a bunch of like LGBT/queer figures that can be disavowed by the movement, to really stick it to the crux.
Well, should be.
So so we'll do that for
yeah.
like a stream on its own, so that we can really drill down on that subject. So we got 4 more planks to go over, like in terms of 2025 today.
Yes.
Of course.
Oh, and by the way, I told Angela a couple weeks ago I can no longer support her because of the way they've been treating Chase.
Yeah, like
I don't agree with Chase on everything. But I've voted for the LP's nominee since 1992. I'm not going to watch people who have a job to do completely throw our nominee under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was very charitable for a long time. Like, I really, despite being against a lot of what she was doing, really tried to give her the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, you know, maybe she has a point here. Maybe this will ultimately accomplish what she's saying it's going to accomplish. But yeah, like the Chase Oliver hate has gotten ridiculous.
Well,
okay, he wasn't my first choice either, but like the temper tantrums have gotten out of hand.
Well, she set this.
And Chase isn't totally innocent in all this either. But you know, it's really you've got to call a truce until the election, and then after the election we can fight again.
But
that's how I look at it.
Here's the thing. She set the stage. She set the stage right away. And she set the stage right away by, in her endorsement announcement video, she put a big rainbow frame on it, and then she also put a clown nose on and said, "This is clown. We're all clowns. We're all in this circus." Shut the fuck up. You are the chair of a political party. Your political party nominated somebody. Do not undermine that by clown nosing yourself and acting like it's not serious. Shut the fuck up. This should have been a fuck up moment from the beginning.
Oh yeah. I mean, like right now with the circumstances and situation as it is, there are a lot of libertarians. I can't even say it without going libertarians. Out there who are showing and telling us all exactly who they are, and we need to fucking believe them.
Yes.
We need to fucking believe them. You know, maybe if you can help them out and lead them to a better path, that's fine, but you have to fucking believe them when they show you who they are. I hate to be a damn t-shirt, but when people show you who they are, fucking believe them. And to be fair, that's not just amongst like market libertarians and anarchists. Right now, there are people all over Anarchia who have been running around loving the aesthetic of this shit, showing us exactly who they are right now, chasing up the skirts of genocide, and things of that nature. Like, no way.
I don't know. Zionism is the weirdest thing in the history of the world. Sometimes I don't know how it ever got to be taken seriously by anybody.
Because the U.S. wanted a strategic partner in the Middle East. That's it. That they wanted a vassal state. They wanted people there who would help them enact their foreign policy, and they don't give a shit who dies.
Well, if you think about it this way, and I don't want to sound like a crazy nutball, but I mean, if you think about it, the creation of Israel and the timing of everything and what happened with, like, the Nazis and how America was so fucking welcoming to them, it's almost like they continued the work so that later on, when they had created this tiny, like, monster known as Zionism, they can flip it around and use it to turn people against the Jews, which is what they are absolutely doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem deliberate.
I'm not saying that it. I don't want to give them so much credit as to say that they planned it this way. But I will give, because I don't believe that they actually did. I do think that the circumstances lined up and they took advantage of it, because if our government is one thing, it is opportunistic as fuck.
I have no attachment to any land that was occupied, where my ancestors lived 1,000 years ago. I don't care where they lived. I mean, it's a safe bet that it might be a safe bet, for example, that all of us probably have some genes going back to Genghis Khan, just because of where he spread his seed. I mean,
Needed blood.
so what?
I care because I think it's neat and I love history and I like
Yeah,
knowing
yeah.
about my heritage, but like I don't give a shit about the dirt.
Also,
Well,
if I may make
You know
a
how many
practical point,
ancestors you had 1,000 years ago? I mean, if you think about your
Oh,
parents,
good lord,
grandparents, your
yeah.
great-grandparents, keep doubling that and see how many you have. You have.
I'm
okay.
aware of a
must
good
be
chunk of my
pretty
much
family's
ownership
history,
of,
and
like,
like, yeah, it
any
just gets
land if
big.
you
It's
wanted to.
exponential.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
so
also, as a-
exponential. We're
guys-
the upside down pyramid. Each individual is an upside down pyramid with all of our ancestors just branching out above us.
yeah, Kevin.
Yeah. Also, as a practical note, in post-World War II European environment, they had, as we all know, Hitler killed a lot of European Jews, and
Yes.
because of lingering anti-Semitism, they weren't quite sure what to do with the remaining Jews.
Yes.
And more practically to the point, in his rampage across Europe, Hitler had burned books, burned dossiers, burned records. They didn't know where to re-put anybody, so they were like, well, you know what? Let's just send them to Palestine, because Britain still technically owns it for 2 years, and we legally can do it, and it solves
Yes.
the problem. So rather than confront anti-Semitism in their backyards and
Yes.
properly rehome European Jews, they were like, fuck it, ship them off to live with the brown people, because that's how we solve all our problems.
Exactly.
Well, and I mean, like, not to try and to insistently to bring it back around or anything, but like their destruction of all of these, like books and files and research and everything
Yes.
like that is actually the basis of their capacity to spread misinformation about us now. Not the basis; it's like the foundation.
Yeah.
Of why they're able to do
because
that
there
with
was so
us
much
now.
research that they burnt that confirmed the scientific nature of LGBT people. And then, and here's one of the pieces of misinformation that I can bring up here. Because, like, there's some stuff involving the LGBT research that was done at the something institute that I can't remember right now.
Frankfurt.
No, that's
Oh my gosh.
it's the institute in Germany that was responsible for like this research being done, but it wasn't Frankfurt. It was it was started with an
NAS
L.
or something?
But like either way, this one I'm normally better at remembering this. I think I'm kind of tired. But the general thing is that at this institute, they were proving quite a bit that the Nazis wanted to defame. So what they did is they lied about it, and this lie persists to this day. The lie that they did was that the people there were doing like sexual research with minors, but they weren't. And the research that was allegedly cited to prove this was that, like, what were your sexual habits when you were a kid? And they asked this to adults. But the like conservatives, like at the time and still to this day, will take that out of context and act like they got survey results from minors when they never did anything of the sort. So let me check this institute. The burning.
I know what you're talking about. It's unfortunate that, I don't know if we can ever really know what happened there. They definitely destroyed a lot of research. They burned Maria Montessori's books. I mean, and certainly Maria Montessori is somebody who I think is definitely a hero.
Yeah, Hirschfeld. It was his institute, and it was the Institute of Sexology, or Institut für Sexualwissenschaft, which is a great way to say something if you wanted to use the word shaft. I had to.
Homo sapiens are generally not able to have rational discussions about sex, and that's been a problem for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, like, people who aren't, like, repressed are able to have these discussions about sex all the fucking time. Like, I have come across an insurmountable amount of people who are perfectly fine having conversations about sex without getting, like, having a problem with it.
Yeah.
But as a society, we're terrible about it. And also, we lack the education as a society to be able to have these conversations. It's kind of like how the death industry intentionally made us ignorant so they could take advantage of us.
Yep.
The death industry?
Right.
Yes.
Repression does some strange things to people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
So, real quick.
We could do a whole episode on Big Death too.
Yeah, we should.
What do you mean by
Oh.
big death?
Oh,
Wait, is Big Death like
Is
funeral
that-
companies?
Yes.
That's the opposite of the
It's
little.
more than that, but yes.
It's that. It's
Wait,
also
so-
it's also insurance. It's like what they do with the organs. It's all this stuff. All of it.
Yeah, there's like a whole tangled fucking mess of a thing called death law
Mm-hmm.
or corpse law.
Corpse Law. Doesn't that sound like a metal album? Corpse
Corpse
Law.
It kind
Law.
of does. That would make a great band. Corpse law.
Project. So, but real quick, because we're still on plank 2 out of 6. So
Oh dear,
Um,
we're gonna be here all night.
Project 2025 intends, speaking of education, to abolish the Gender Policy Council within the ex-office of the president, which it views as promoting abortion and the new woke gender ideology. Project 2025 said that eliminating the GPC would, quote, eliminate central promotion of abortion, comprehensive sexuality education, and the new woke gender ideology. In place of the Gender Policy Council, Project 2025 proposes, quote, new structures and positions that would promote, quote, life and strengthening the family. So, real quick, just to say, it's a good place to remind people that anybody who wants to get rid of comprehensive sexual education promotes grooming. Because sexual education, especially the more comprehensive it is, and especially, and this is going to piss
Protects you.
somebody off, the younger you talk to them, teaches these people what it's not acceptable to happen to them so that they don't have to
Yes.
hear from somebody
Yep.
they're supposed to trust. It's okay. Just relax and let it happen. Shut the fuck up.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. If I'd have had that sort of education available to me, I would have probably turned out to be a completely different person.
Hody just fucking shrunk. I can crank up the sleaze in any stream I want. Fucking
Oh.
yeah, like this.
Yeah,
This is scientifically proven. Every
I'm
piece of
triggered
research.
now. Oh my god.
These people want to reduce abortion. They also don't want to reduce comprehensive sex
Well,
education. Like education.
Yeah.
Also,
from
there
pregnancy
is no
prevention,
such
abortion.
thing as. Also, there's no such thing as woke gender ideology. That is something that the
What?
right wing made up.
Yes.
That is literally not a thing that anybody on the left talks about. Well, first off, like, the only people who really call anybody woke is the right wing, and they have no idea what wokeness is.
Mm-hmm.
Their appropriation of black culture is disgusting, and even more of a testament to the ill nature of what they're doing.
Right.
may I
Exactly.
make a point?
I just
Go for it,
anything
Eduardo.
But like,
Kamala Harris to have kids. That's what I don't get.
Go.
When I love the term cultural Marxism because I think they're trying to create a false equivalency between social progressivism and the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Well-
look at the Soviet Union's social policies, if you take away the anti-theist, atheist policies of the Soviet Union, their social planks are disturbingly similar to Project 2025. I'm just pointing that out there.
Yes.
well,
Yeah,
this is not
most
new
state
because you have to be
socialists are-
aware.
yeah, progressive
Oh.
in some ways.
Go.
You have to be aware that anytime somebody uses like they use that concept that they're pushing, like not far right, alt right concepts and stuff. Like crap, I forgot where I was going with this. I lost it. The ADHD took me. I'm gone.
Soviet Union.
Oh, yes, sorry. So like anytime you hear people pulling the whole like, oh, Marxist cultural ideologies and shit like that, that stems from yet another fascist rhetoric that they are trying to kind of like Trojan into people and stuff. And what you'll hear in fascist spaces more, you'll hear people saying, oh, so like they like to, outside of the spaces, they like to say queerness is a Marxist plot, right? So what they say in their own spaces is that Marxism is a Jewish plot.
Yep.
And so when you get a glimpse into these spaces and you see them behaving like that, and then you step back and you see the right wing and even libertarians saying it because they're doing it all over the place, that like the queer ideology is a Marxist plot, they're saying half of a fascist actual line.
Yeah.
And pushing, and they're pulling that rhetoric in, and they may or may not be aware of it. Oftentimes they're fucking not. But a lot of times, I mean, like, more than should be, they fucking are at this point. They will double down on the ideals.
They
Even
heard
if you explain to them where it came from, that's what they want. And so anytime you hear somebody go, oh, this social movement is a Marxist plot, what they're saying is this social movement is a Jewish plot.
Well, not any time, but enough of the time.
No, but like you need to be very careful about that. When it's the far right, when it's the alt-right, when it's the MAGA, like that's the rhetoric they're being fed to push.
And also, Marx kind of hated the Jews anyway. Rose, you were going to say something, though? I think wires got crossed.
Oh. Yeah, I lost my train of thought there, so no big deal.
Sorry.
Soviet Union.
Well, oh, no, I think I was just pointing out. Yeah, most state socialist regimes are, like, to some extent regressive because they need people to be like in a state where they can work and generate as much productivity for the state socialist regime as they can. So like they'll embrace certain socially progressive policies such as in the Soviet Union. Like you constantly hear this from tankies. Oh, they were so far ahead of the curve when it came to women's rights. That's because that benefited them, though, so it's not necessarily for the right reasons. Like, they needed as many workers as they could get, so of course they were going to encourage women to go out and pursue careers. They needed workers.
Exactly. Yep.
What's being
Kareem,
highlighted?
your camera's off. Are you jacking off?
Yeah. Not to say that women's rights are bad, because they are not. It's just sometimes bad guys do good things for bad reasons.
And let me just say that sounds like a very Soviet approach to a problem, is just get as many humans on it as possible.
Yep.
Yeah,
like,
honestly, that sounds like a
it's
very authoritarian thing. They just kind of all do that.
Yep.
Oh, and it's how the USSR waged war in the 20s and 30s. I'm sure we all know about that, the famous 10 rifles for every one guy. And if one guy dies, you're like, go get his rifle. It's your turn. And you're like, no!
You get 3 bullets, and then you just grab the guy's rifle once he dies. Yeah, they would just throw wave after wave of humans because people were completely disposable.
Exactly. Kareem.
And that's why we oppose authoritarianism.
Yes.
Yep.
Kareem.
So,
let him finish in peace.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. What the heck, man?
Oh my god.
Yeah, you gotta rub it into your chest like lotion.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have my shirt on. I think this started, a lot of this started with Jordan Peterson just made up from something. I don't know where he got it.
Postmodern neo-Marxism.
Yeah, he said the postmodernists are allied with the neo-Marxists, and I'm like, what? He's like, but he never, and even I like some of his, like, back in the day, like, okay, you know, clean your room, all that. But, like, where does he even get this equivalency? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You just like the fact that he eats meat.
I mean, yeah, that's cool, too. Meat, salt, and water.
It's what's for dinner.
But the thing I don't get is he's just like, well, the postmodernists and the neo-Marxists.
You're not doing a Kermit voice.
Yeah, the postmodernists and the neo-Marxists are, you know.
That was Marge.
That's not even close.
But anyway, go for it. So,
but yeah, so Peterson made this thing up, and then all of a sudden I see all these influencers, including James Lindsay, and actually Phil LeBlanc. I'm like, Phil, all right, define all the, and now I'm seeing everybody's calling Kamala Harris a communist.
Yeah.
I'm like, based on what? Like, based on she has bad economic ideas? Because I guess...
yes, the famous person trying to be in charge of a capitalist country who's a communist. This is the least unhinged take I've heard in the last 2 or 3 minutes, at least.
No, but look, they're doubling down.
Trump's generating by giant mega corporations and Wall Street elites as a communist who wants to outlaw private ownership. That's totally not moronic.
Also, she was big into supplying prison labor and forcing people onto the neoliberal model.
I mean, in all fairness, that also happened in socialist countries, but
not for profit though.
Okay, yeah, it was for labor, but yes.
But now I think this has gotten permeated so much that you got like, what is it? Trump and Elon Musk, like, oh my God, Kamala's dad was a Marxist, and she's a Marxist, and she's gonna, bring in the Soviet Revolution. I don't know what they actually think, because now they're bringing AI.
Well, they don't think.
Comrade Kamala. I'm like, first of all, this is kind of insulting to me that, like, I know who the CNT FAI or study their history, and you're calling her that when she's just I don't even think she's anything. I think she just reads the teleprompter. She doesn't have like a coherent ideology of any kind. She's just I really do think she probably had some fun on her way to the top. That might be true.
You know, Kareem, I think you just don't have any joy. Isn't there? Don't you hope?
I actually don't like the Kamala sex memes because I think that they're sexist and misogynist. She had I was so weirded out by them. I was like, wait, this is so random. Why is it her and no other female politician? I looked it up. Apparently, she dated a mayor briefly when she was in her 30s, and it all came from that. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, well, I'm sorry that she had a relationship with someone she worked with. That's literally called life. You guys are being weird about it, so I'll never use those.
And also, like,
I just call her cop. That's why.
Cop Kamala.
And also
hate her for the right reason.
Yeah, I call it Kamala.
Yeah, and also to be completely
sorry.
frank, like the issue with the sex thing is they want to talk about Kamala allegedly sleeping her way to the top, but they don't like you to talk. Trump definitely didn't grab anyone by the pussy. He didn't do that. He just said he did that. He just admitted that. He definitely didn't grab any underage pussy. He just said that he had the same taste in fucking like young women as Epstein did, and that Epstein was a lot of fun to be around. He didn't sexually assault anyone.
That he would have sex with his daughter.
Yeah, but don't talk about his sex weirdness. Just talk about Kamala.
Do you not have these conversations?
And again, I mean, like, Kamala is totally gonna back the genocide too. She made it very clear during that speech when people were protesting, and she was like, "I'm talking." Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I love the way they tried to toss a bone to the protesters outside when you knew they were completely insincere.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so generally speaking, first off, Reynolds says, I was told yesterday by a self-described, quote, journalist that Trump has never done anything immoral. Oh.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That person just committed intellectual suicide.
Yeah, I mean, like, either you just talk about shit you know nothing about, or that's your moral standard.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow. Good. What if you don't have a moral standard? There's also the fact that I talked to Keith about this, and I wish he was on because he agreed with me, is that they're misrepresenting an ideology with the worst thing, meaning McCarthy's taking, I think it started with McCarthy, this Red Scare, and he said, like, okay, look, Marxism's bad. And here's the funny thing, when all these people, like, are, James Lindsay, they're like, look, I'm defacing a Marx thing. I'm like, do you care? I'm like, no, I don't like Marx. Listen, here's the thing. Yeah, I agree with you. Marxism sucks. Woo. I'm like, but there is this guy called Bakunin, and there's the Paris Commune, and there was the Spanish anarchy.
Exactly.
You want to talk about that? Because that actually didn't end up in people starving, and it worked well. And even George Orwell, your hero, liked it. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about decentralized communism working. That would throw the narrative.
Well, my issue with a lot of free folk that are still Red Scared, like, a lot of them start complaining about communism, and it is immediately clear that they didn't even read it. Like, look, this is the Red Book, y'all. It is tiny. Mm-hmm. It is not very thick. It is very small. Please just read it so that if you hate it, you can at least say something that doesn't make the rest of us want to drive off a fucking cliff.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. Just read it. It's tiny. It's so tiny. It's so tiny. It doesn't even take up the whole page. Look at that. Look at that. Please. Yeah. I beg of you. I beg of you, give us some sort of substance argument instead of your Red Scare vomit.
Yeah, and
So we can't just say it's bad because Fox News told us it was bad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I'll get Chris's take because I'm
and then go read Kropotkin.
Yes.
Yeah, and I did that.
Let me just say the Red Scare brought us beautiful things such as Red Dawn the movie. So if nothing else, you know.
But just to be clear, it didn't start with McCarthy. He just made like the fucking cohesive statist case for it in the modern era, but like ultimately it started like way back when it started, like, you know, I mean the Red Scare itself started in the 1800s, but like the actual like Red Scare in the modern era like kicked off even with more Nazi era things, and like, you know, the fucking Jewish Bolshevism is the reason everything is degenerative now. And, you know, the fucking post-World War II thing of, like, let's use, like, Russia as an excuse to expand our military and intelligence operations and fund the Mujahideen and do NASA and do, like, MK-Ultra and a bunch of other shit because them Ruskies got them mind controls and we've got to beat them to the moon. And, you know, so the Red Scare, communism has been the perpetual cudgel for capitalism for a significant period of time. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, and I get so sick of people being like, well, National Socialism is communism. And I'm like, no, it's really not. Fascism has walked hand in hand with capitalism into many a person's doom over and over and over again.
Yes. Liberals support, a lot of people don't realize that liberals enable the fascism
all the time.
All the time.
Scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds.
Yeah.
They're corporativists, they're capitalists, they're not left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Most of them, like, yeah.
And they're only performative. Like, most liberals are only performatively progressive.
Real quick. What
were you saying?
Fascists, if push really came to shove in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've read Mein Kampf because.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's not bad. I went to a liberal arts school. My major is computer science, but I took a World War II history class, and I'm like, you know, this should be good. And one of the requirements was, and I was reading Nietzsche and other stuff at the time, and I actually wanted to read it because I'm like, okay, there's a group of people who think Nietzsche inspired like the German National Socialists. I don't actually believe he did. I believe he was against them.
No, not at all.
I think Hegel did maybe in some ways, but like, look, let's see what this guy, and I read like a few pages. All it was is the Soviets are bad. Kill the commies. The commies are bad. Kill the commies. The commies and it's not a coherent argument. It's just like there's Bolsheviks and they're Jewish. Somebody's Jewish somewhere. So yeah, they inspired them. Let's do Lebensraum, according to him, and take their land and destroy them because it's going to destroy them.
Well, the whole thing is just a tweak rant. Once you realize that, it all makes sense.
Exactly.
Or took huge amounts of math.
Well, I mean, if to our market free folk cousins and shit, like, if you are so red scared and so afraid of communism that you are willing to, like, lift up and platform a literal dictator, there's something that needs to be examined.
And maybe the communists aren't the tyrants you think they are because you're the tyrant they think you are.
Yeah, just don't go trusting tankies.
Yeah.
Don't you go trust those tankies.
Yeah, no.
I'm Venezuelan. I know better.
There's people who are like,
Eduardo's eyes turn red with rage.
They speak so prettily, just like the Nazis, but they are just as bad, don't.
Or libertarians who are like, man, isn't Pinochet based? I'm like, no.
Well,
he's a monster.
Yeah.
On every conceivable level.
Care about freedom.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
If you run around playing like woodchopper memes and saying you hate child abuse and shit, but you do Pinochet memes, you're a hypocrite.
Paul
you're a hypocrite.
And you know, I just wanted on the record that Brett just admitted to liking Nazi music. So,
I just
they
said
sing
that they
prettily.
speak sweetly. They do. They speak sweetly,
Well-
and they come with the fucking shark smiles.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
Someone told me like Mussolini started
but we're
out.
gonna
She
cut
didn't
that
admit
out
to,
of-
like-
no one is immune. No one
We're
is
gonna cut
immune.
that out of
They will
context
sneak that
and
shit up
say
on
that-
you.
Yes, they will.
They
Oh,
didn't
God,
admit to
yeah.
liking
Clip
Nazi
it.
music. They're writing lyrics for Corpse Law.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm writing lyrics for Corpse Law. We're all gonna make the band, and since none of us can play instruments that I'm aware of, it's gonna be a punk band.
Well,
What?
well, hey, just to be clear, first off, Kareem can. He's in a band himself. He
Oh
play-
yeah, that's right. I forgot. Kareem, you're the only. You can't be in the band because we have to be a punk band.
Hey, look at this. I'm making music of my own. I literally use this to make music.
But
We're
funny
gonna call
enough,
him post-punk. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
and
right?
that's also why I was arguing in like Jeremy's Jitsi, like because Mussolini started out, from my understanding, as a syndicalist, but he was not an anarcho-syndicalist, and that's where the problem happened. Is he's like, oh, fascism would be more efficient than syndicalism.
He liked he liked
that's-
certain
that's-
he liked certain
My-
syndicalist ideals, but he was not a syndicalist. No.
Okay.
And also, if there's Mussolini, there has to be Squirrelini. I had to say that.
Oh
So
my god.
yeah. So real quick, let's do the fourth plank here. Project 2025 calls on the next conservative administration to limit the application of the Supreme Court's ruling in Bostock versus Clayton County, which held that Title VII's sex discrimination, Title 12, maybe? No, Title 7. Sex discrimination. Roman numerals are sometimes fucky for me. Protections applied to LGBTQ plus people. So it basically means that they can say that you can discriminate legally against LGBTQ plus people. It also calls on the next conservative administration to not allow Bostock's holding to be extended to the broader categories of sexual orientation or gender identity. Which means that you wouldn't, it's another one of these, postmodern neo-Marxist gender ideology, Marx. It's this kind of mentality of, we're gonna fucking, say that gender ideology, certain emails that were sent. We're gonna say that, instead of, talking about, whether or not these things are actually true. We're just going to legalize it to treat these people like shit. I don't know who's listening to music, but that's probably copyrighted.
Oh shit!
There we
Now
go.
the whole thing's gonna get taken
We'll
down.
never be monetized, and we can't become. We won't be able to
I doubt this
Fine.
channel itself will ever be monetized, but
I just never.
I
plan
thought
on
you
it. I just don't
deliberately
plan on it.
demonetized yourself at the beginning by saying cunt repeatedly.
yeah, cunt.
Oh my
I can't
God.
wait for Jeremy's Manscaped commercials. They're gonna be brilliant.
Yeah.
I already
Can't wait
know.
either.
Oh no.
But whoever's got the music though, that definitely can't be on.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
But one of the things so this thing here, it just wants to remove protections, and it wants to remove protections for a very specific kind of purpose. And I think that that's just it's a demonstration of the cynical nature of this, at least cynical in the worst application of the term possible, where they just want this thing to make it easier to treat people poorly.
Yeah.
Right. Because okay.
To be
In
fair, the
theory-
laws don't do a very good job of protecting us from it, anyways. But still.
In theory, again, I would believe in freedom of association, but that's just when you have a landscape dominated by state-backed monopolies, it just doesn't really work because
Well,
people
yeah.
don't have freedom of choice.
Yeah.
We can do our best, but there really is no ethical consumption under capitalism.
I'm sorry, you just
That
reminded
does
me.
not include the free market, but it has to be a real free market. Don't get all defensive about it now because we don't have that.
I'm
It also
murky.
doesn't include Sonic merchandise.
Yeah, right?
Sonic
Yeah.
merchandise is the only ethical consumption under capitalism.
So-
Nothing else.
Real quick, Rupert Fellows says monopoly capitalism is not socialism, you morons. We didn't say it was. In fact, we're probably
Wait,
sympathetic
who
to
is
that.
this idiot who
Yeah,
thinks
nobody
that's
said
what we've been
that.
saying?
Nobody
do
said
they not
that.
have
How
ears?
do you get that? Oh my god.
Yeah, we were saying the opposite. Reinhold says everything can be traced back to World War II and the second version of the KKK. That is true. But also, just in general, the general vibe, I think, should be to recognize that if you have to pull this shit, you're losing. You're losing the cultural threads, and you need to do a better job of marketing your culture rather than trying to take down other people's. Because,
Well,
go.
Oh yeah, because if your culture was so great and so fucking just and so good, you wouldn't have to use force.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, if trad families were actually, if they were actually a good idea, you wouldn't have to rig the market in your favor by, say, removing things like women's ability to have a job or open a bank account.
Or to just be paid on equal grounds.
Right.
All right, I'm fading fast, so I'm gonna bow out because
Gotcha.
I was here as an ally.
Have a good night.
Good night.
You all, and we're gonna do this again at some point. Later.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. Take it easy, man.
Take it easy, friend.
Yeah. Be well. Yeah, we'll be calling it soon.
Are we gonna have to do 2 episodes of this?
No. This we've got
number 4, I think.
Can we get Chris's thoughts on some
Is
stuff?
this 4? Okay.
Right. So we were talking about rigged markets or something.
There haven't been that many
I don't
things
remember.
to comment about.
Oh, okay.
Project 2025 attacks the existence of transgender individuals, saying society today includes the, quote, toxic normalization of transgenderism. It calls on the DoD to reverse policies that allow transgender individuals to serve in the military.
Yes.
Which, I mean, good?
I mean, I don't want trans people to go die for this tyrant thing, but what they're really doing there is just slowly removing people, like queer people's rights. They're walking back things that have been allowed and shit like that already. We have had trans people in our military for a while now. It's not brand fucking new. And before that, they were still there. There was this thing called don't what is it? Don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. And so we've had queer people in our military for as long as you can fucking imagine, honey. Honey.
Drag performances in World War I and II.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to act like any of this is new. It's ridiculous to act like they're saving the military, because there's this big social push in media, commercials and stuff like that out there where they're like, oh, they've destroyed our military with DEI hires. And if you don't understand that, when somebody says a DEI something,
yeah, what
they really want to say is a slur.
Yes.
But they're saying DEI instead because that's what they can get away with now.
Yeah, and here's something real quick for anybody who has a problem with DEI and wants to blame some sort of world agenda or some sort of government policy. That isn't what happens. What happens is a corporation decides that they want to seem more inclusive, and so they hire somebody to make sure that they meet certain quotas. It's a voluntary choice, you cunt-ass bitch fuck morons. So anyway, I had to do that. With that in mind, anybody else got to say anything about that particular section? Because, I mean, to me, transgenders, LGBT, straight people, whites, blacks, Chinese, ban them all from the military. Fuck the military.
Yeah.
But
fuck the military.
We should all just not join it.
Yeah.
But equally.
Yeah.
And military recruiters are the real groomers. So.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Oof.
So,
Pledge of Allegiance is grooming.
Yes. Yeah, I have a video on my. I have a video on my YouTube.
I'm so glad I don't
that.
remember it.
I pledge allegiance to this piece of cloth. I put my hand on my heart and do idol worship, and somehow God is involved in this. I love my country even though I'm 5. I have no frame of reference, but I pledge and they don't care that I can't consent to this any more than I need a permission slip from my parent to go to a fucking field trip. But suddenly I can pledge my fealty to a country and have it drilled into my skull as though that's the thing that's required to be a part of this place.
Yes.
And then I'll be a loyal member of the workforce when they shit me out into the public just like I was shat out into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking this fucking anyway.
Does any other country have something like the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, in fact, the Bellamy
Yeah.
salute was used by Nazis.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, Texas also has its own version.
I didn't
It's
know
like
that.
honor the flag
Yeah,
of Texas.
Texas.
I mean, yeah, like
I feel like
that
I'm
is something
dying.
that is very a very American. I mean, and there was another case where a guy saw a British soldier or something who was taking an old worn out flag and using it to make rags and something, and the guy says it isn't the Holy Grail.
Yeah, and also you're supposed to decommission old flags.
Right.
So
There's like a whole
I think you're supposed to
ceremony.
burn them.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the sixth plank, and then we'll go over a few more little bits of minutia, and then we can call it. Recommends the next conservative administration dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development, which I think they just don't like because it's called U.S. AIDS. DEI apparatus, which includes issuing a directive to cease promotion of the DEI agenda, including the bullying LGBTQ+ agenda. They call LGBTQ+ agenda a bullying agenda. They're saying the
and
minority
people want
is
to
the
just
bully.
exist. Oh yeah, the people who want to just exist are bullying you. If somebody else's existence bullies you, you need to reevaluate yourself.
Well, we need to get rid of places where children are forced to interact with children that they don't want to interact with.
In what way?
To
Oh, like schools. Yeah. I gotcha.
Right,
I gotcha. Yeah. And
Remember the forced
Well,
like?
yeah, I
schools,
think
like
we
you
should
were-
get rid of
You
public
had to
schools.
do like a
but
team
Yes.
project, and they would randomly assign a group, and you had to work with people who you hated, who would just like undermine your ability to put your ideas into
yeah,
into play.
I hate the idea of things being corporatively and governmentally enforced because they cause more problems than they fix. However, these DEI things being in place, they actually have made things fucking better. And without them, it makes it easier for these people to hurt us.
yes.
To keep us in the lower rung of society, to keep us in the lower class spaces. So I mean, like, we should be facing, we as free folk should be looking at and trying to dismantle things that are actively trying to harm people, not dismantle things that are holding back the harm.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the other half of that is the fact that, like, if these people truly cared about stopping grooming, like, Gays Against Groomers is a good example of this. Libs of TikTok. These accounts do not go against groomers, they go against LGBT people. And if they went
Yes.
against groomers, 99% of their content would not be LGBT people. It would
When
be...
they make shit up and get schools bombed, threaded and
Yeah.
stuff like that, they don't
Oh,
give
well-
crap about kids. They encourage that behavior.
Yes.
Libs of oh my god, I love how they'll go on and on about how bad cancel culture is until the Trump assassination happened, and then they're getting fucking like
Home Depot.
elderly
Well,
checkout.
they're the same group of
elderly
people.
cashiers fired from their jobs because they said something like, "I wish the shooter hadn't missed" or something. Oh
Yeah.
my
Well,
God.
they're the same group of people who freak out and call everyone, who freak out as they call everyone snowflakes. And they're the same group of people
Yep.
who are like, oh my God, cancel culture. Let's boycott all this queer shit. And, they do this over and over again. They are consistent in this. Like, we shouldn't be, like, confused about it. They're just built that way, I guess. I can't understand how a human being can continue to exist in such a state of hypocrisy, and like they have to be doing some sort of like crazy fucking like acrobats and like gymnastics, acrobats, the whole trapeze. They're getting elephants in there.
it just occurred to me one day that normies don't seem to care. Like they'll drive around with a thin blue line sticker and a Gadsden flag sticker, and they don't lie awake at night concerned about the fact that these two things contradict each other. Like it just doesn't seem to register. Like some people, I don't know.
They're
concerned. Here's the thing that gets me.
I'm trying to figure out how.
One at a time.
I'm trying to figure out how people can say Trump is going to drain the swamp, meanwhile he's totally in Israel's back pocket.
Yeah.
He's not going to drain the swamp. He needs the swamp to survive, just like the rest of them.
Also,
he's not special or different.
Also, he didn't do it
he's
last
just
time.
Orange Mussolini. Yeah. No, all he did last time was encourage red flag laws and all sorts of other fucked up shit.
FOSTA and SESTA. The excuses made for Trump.
I really want free folk to think about the fact that both Biden and Trump have done things that have murdered free folk.
Yes.
Of many flavors. Not one kind. Many flavors. They murder us. All of them. So, like, if you're pretending that one is better than the other to help you sleep through the night or to give you some sort of false sense of accomplishment, don't.
Yeah. And so, like...
we have people in the dirt for this shit. Because these people, they use it for their political clout. They use it for all this other shit. Like, you can't trust them. None of them do what they're supposed to do. None of them do what they do exactly what they're supposed to do, actually. The system isn't broken. It's functioning the way it's supposed to. And they are behaving the way they are supposed to.
Yeah, well, and like, I've got some quotes that I pulled from this Art Chad video. The right fully made the shift and adopted the culture of victimhood they had blamed the left of capitalizing on for years, positioning themselves on the receiving end of the folly from progressive politics, portraying themselves as the protectors of a bygone era that have been stolen from them by the left. This victimhood has been rising as various cultural pillars fell out of conservative control. He also said ressentiment is a feeling of powerlessness and inferiority to an outside force. Being unable to express one's frustration in response to this feeling, rather than mastering or evolving past this outside force, ressentiment causes one to reconstruct their values in relation to their oppressor. Their weaknesses become virtues. To further cement the reconstruction of values, one must continually blame the outside force. He also says... the right, on the other hand, actually has influence. All of the names I'm about to mention have tens of millions of followers, multiple media outlets, and talk in the ears of people influential in politics. The right has gone on to be the unquestioned moral arbiters of the internet, people like libs of TikTok. He said one other thing that I'll quote. People should just watch the video and subscribe to his channel. Art Chat is great. The right wing doesn't believe in anything. They don't talk about why they're right. They just want to show why the other side is wrong. Slave morality.
He's right. And the left wing doesn't believe in anything either. I'm not talking about leftists. I'm talking about the left wing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got to get cohesive and actually principled, and none of these people really are. They just want their brand.
They have no principles.
Yeah.
If you ask them for what their principles are, they cannot fucking tell you. At best, they can tell you what the platform of their political party is.
Yes.
Your political party is not your ideology.
It's their whole personality. Right. It's like Gen Xers who like say garden hose is their personality. It's goddamn annoying.
It's like yeah, no,
I think it's funny.
Their ideology is being opposed to whatever the other team is in support of, and even if it can, like, it can completely swap every few years, and they even seem to notice. Like they have no philosophical consistency or principles. It's so annoying.
I don't know who Rupert Fellows is, but I didn't block you. You're still in the chat. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I still see you, honey. It's the person who blocked you in the room with you now.
I didn't block you. It might just be YouTube's auto censors. Like that is a problem. But like Rupert says, you blocked me so you couldn't read my apology. You fucking snowflake morons. Okay, well, I guess apology.
It was me. I was an asshole, okay?
Honestly, if YouTube's algorithm thingy that like holds comments that are possibly like bad catches that, and it was a quote apology, he can fuck off anyways.
Well, the general vibe.
It wasn't.
The general, I mean, maybe it was, but like I just recognize that YouTube sometimes fucks people's shit. That's what I'll say.
It does. It does sometimes do that, yes.
So, and by the way, if you want to unfuck your shit, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And by share, I mean share, because like that's a thing with these videos is that they don't get shared a lot.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, let's move on to, because we've got, I think, yeah, we've got all the planks that this particular one-page reader has to say, except like one thing. Further demonstrating Project 2025's commitment to its anti-LGBTQ+ agenda, the handbook chapter on the State Department was written by Chron Skinner. Skinner served in the Trump administration as director of the Office of Policy and Planning until she was fired for, quote, abusive, unprofessional behavior, including retaliation and homophobic remarks to staff. So, very clear what that's trying to do. And then,
yeah,
one more thing. In terms of the like wiki, which I normally have been relying on, issues of identity includes things as well. Like Project 2025 opposes what it calls radical gender ideology and advocates that the government, quote, maintain a biblically based, social science reinforced definition of marriage and family. To achieve this, end quote, it proposes ending same-sex marriage, removing protections against discrimination on the basis of sex or gender identity, and eliminating provisions pertaining to diversity, equity, and inclusion, which it calls state-sanctioned racism from federal legislation. Federal employees who have participated in their programs or any initiative involving critical race theory might be fired. Public school teachers who want to use a transgender student's preferred pronouns would be required to obtain written permission from the student's legal guardian. Project 2025's backers also want to target the private sector by reversing the, quote, DEI revolution in labor policy in favor of more race-neutral regulations. Project 2025 is part of a trend of intensifying backlash against DEI in the early 2020s. White House's Gender Policy Council would be disbanded. Government agencies would be forbidden from instituting quotas and collecting statistics on gender, race, or ethnicity. Project contributor Jonathan Berry explains the goal here is to move toward colorblindness and to recognize that we need to have laws and policies that treat people like full human beings, not reducible to categories, especially when it comes to race. The U.S. Census Bureau would be reformed. The U.S. Census Bureau would be reformed according to conservative principles.
And that's
they
funny.
want to remove people's right to, like, okay, the state should not be involved in marriage in the first place, but so long as it is, it should be equally available. And they want to remove the ability for people to get married to who they want to, though, and they're trying to act like they're being neutral and not discriminating against.
Mm-hmm.
They just make there's a lot.
Yeah. Well, also, like, if you're anti...
Who is rushing that sound? I think that's on Eduardo's end. There's some sound. Was there like a thing on your... I don't know. Whatever.
Something was zooming. If you're anti-CRT, then you're pro-propaganda. Don't let liberals teach your kids CRT. They're terrible at it. But seriously, if you're anti-CRT and you're out there saying or enacting like you're anti-CRT, you are actually pro-propaganda.
Yeah, well, and also, like, it's not being taught to kids. Critical race theory itself wasn't. They were just, like, asking certain questions in class that conservatives don't like.
It should be taught to everybody.
I would say that if your kids
just
are
not by the state.
I would say, and this is my totally radical position. If your kid is old enough to be taught that not following a set of rules will result in eternal damnation, they're old enough to be taught about sex. They're old enough to be taught about race theory. They're old enough to be taught about a variety of these things. So maybe if these Christian conservatives mostly want to claim that they have the right of what to restrict from kids, they should understand that the Bible is full of racial, sexual, and otherwise education. And if you're going to ban one sort of it, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you're going to say that kids aren't ready for that sort of shit. Because how old does your kid have to be to find out who spilled their seed on the ground? How old does your kid have to be to find out who fucked who to make who? How old does your kid have to be to find out that Sodom and Gomorrah included anal? How old does your kid have to be to find out all of this shit? Oh, wait, any age? Well, great. Then we can also prevent them from being groomed by not knowing how to, trust people properly, and that they can say no to sex.
Well, yeah. If they're old enough to learn all this stuff that cannot be fully proven, then they're old enough to know the things that we can prove.
And, like, either way, like, from a perspective of full proof, like, the general thing here is, if you take a Christian perspective, you should be able to understand that kids can understand this stuff, and that preventing this sort of education is just preventing them from broadening their horizons, and it's also preventing them from understanding what's happening when somebody might want to do it to them.
Well, if these modern Christian conservatives actually followed the Bible, we would have a whole new fucking, like, industry for millstones. But we don't.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and then one more thing from the Wikipedia. LGBTQ plus writers and journalists have criticized it for its intended removal of protections for LGBTQ plus people and determination to outlaw pornography by claiming it's an omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children. Writing for Dame magazine, Bryn Tannehill argued that the mandate for leadership in part, quote, makes eradicating LGBTQ people from public life its top priority, while citing passages from the playbook linking pornography to transgender ideology, arguing that it related to other anti-transgender attacks in 2023. Guthrie Graves Fitzsimmons, the author of Just Faith, Reclaiming Progressive Christianity, criticized 2025 in an MSNBC article for appealing to Christian nationalism. In particular, Graves Fitzsimmons criticized Severino's chapter on the U.S. DOH and Human Services and his opposition to the Respect for Marriage Act, a landmark law that repealed the Defense of Marriage Act and codified the federal definition of marriage to recognize same-sex and interracial marriage. So basically, the general vibe here is that this thing hates minorities, and it wants to control them, and it doesn't matter what kind of minority they are.
No.
It's going to push policies that are directly anathema to their freedom. What were you going to say, Kareem?
Yes, right. Oh, I was actually going to share my screen because I was just, popped up somehow on Twitter. And this is actually one of the leftists or just one of the leftists.
As long as it's safe for YouTube, go for it.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, is this related to the type of content that they want?
Yeah. Like look what he's posting here already. Like if Kamal, and I'm like, dude, this is extreme. This is pretty racist here.
Yep.
Twins meet your new neighbors. I'm like,
It's bigoted.
Yeah, and like even okay, a bunch of literally just taking a bunch of Middle Eastern brown people are like, if Kamala wins, look at your name. I'm like, geez, how far are you gonna go? Like,
also, I would bet that that's AI. Is that AI?
Probably. I don't know.
All I know is that somebody's hand is right above that flame, and I don't think that's where they would put that.
Yeah, I mean, like, regardless if it's human generated or AI.
Well, at least if it's human generated, you've got real people burning a flag. If you couldn't even do that, then it's fucked anyway. Send me that tweet.
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen too, but not that I really. I mean, like, at a certain point, like if someone was Middle Eastern. And they saw that. First of all, that's messed up. Second of all,
why? Wait, what is it? It was just two people burning an American flag, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
What's so messed up about it?
Nothing, except the fact that, like, basically what Trump's saying: if Kamala wins, your neighbors will be Taliban people burning the flag and stuff like that. And to me, what he's doing is saying, well, if Democrats win, you'll have a bunch of, ethnic minorities doing it. I'm like, geez.
Hey, why you call them Democrats? That's too nice. Them demon rats.
Then even
These
Ian
things are
Smith.
being original too.
And Ian Smith is saying like this is gay fear porn. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's just fear porn. Like, oh,
Yeah. Well, they're addicted to their fear porn. It's part of the polarization.
Well, friends,
Well, you know the quote by Mencken, right?
Sorry.
The H.L. Mencken, the whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins, most of them imaginary.
Yes.
Yeah, and I tagged you. I'm like, I know my
Something like
neighbors.
that, yeah.
This is the dumbest thing. Like,
Something.
the Taliban's
That's not
gonna
exactly.
move
That's
in.
what he basically said.
Yeah,
So,
it's like, okay, if
I
the
think-
Taliban
real
even
quick.
moved in burning flags.
Real quick, I think Edward has to book. Is there anything else you want to say about this subject before you do?
well, first of all, thank you for having me, Jeremy.
Also, I said
Thank
Edward and not Eduardo. I whited that up
That's
accidentally.
okay.
Apologies.
That's okay.
Uh-oh.
That's okay.
Uh-oh.
All I have to say is just one of the reasons why I'm a Christian libertarian is because of agape. The telos of libertarianism, in my opinion, is to see the individual for who they are. Like, instead of saying the Jews or the Christians or the atheists, recognize that within those groups there are millions or even a couple billion people who each with their own individual story who deserve to have their story be heard. Does it take a lot more work and a lot more intellectual labor? Absolutely. But does it better capitalize on the opportunity to promote human dignity in each individual? Absolutely. And with that, I think I have to go.
The way is narrow. The work is
Thank
hard.
you.
Thanks, man.
Be well.
Thank you. Be well, my friends. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Be well.
Yeah, we'll be calling
Be
it
well,
soon.
be healthy,
but
be happy.
I'm looking at this image, and this is, I'm not gonna bet money because I don't have money. If anybody wants to throw money down a large pit, they can do that with my donation links. But this is AI generated. This is almost certainly AI generated. I'm looking at this shit, and I'm not seeing like. I mean, maybe it's not AI generated, but some of these fucking elements definitely look fake.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not AI generated. I'm just saying like this is kind of a like. It'd be the equivalent of saying like, oh, if if a black mayor gets elected, and I put like chicken and watermelon. We're doing the same, getting the same energy. And I know people's going to say, oh yeah, he's just joking and stuff. I'm like, okay, this is just fear mongering and racism at this point.
Yeah.
And
go.
And to me, I don't really think like people like Kamala doesn't have any positions. I agree, but neither does he. All he's saying is, well, migrants will.
So real quick, I'm gonna cover the screen for a second here, just so I can highlight some shit. This guy's thumb doesn't look like a thumb. It's got a weird extra joint. He's barely holding the flag, and yet he's holding it up. This guy's fist is reaching through this guy's arm. Why is he doing that? Is he trying to cop a feel? This guy doesn't appear to be doing anything. This guy, he's fucking just putting his arm up on this other guy, but his shirt seems to be melding with the shirt of this other guy, and he's got this random hand coming behind him for no reason. This camo vest appears to be 2 sizes too small for this guy, whose arm is also coming out of the void and not at the same level as this guy's other arm, which means that his clavicle would have to be 2 inches shorter on his right side than his left side. And what all of this, and the fact that there's this weird hand grabbing here for no reason, another hand, and the fact that this guy's legs appear to be skewed, let's just say, to the point where his spine would have to snake up at this odd angle. I'm looking at every single aspect of this image is one of those things that gets worse every single second you look at it. And I think if Trump wants to complain about the outrage, the fucking crowd sizes being AI generated when Kamala has that photo op, maybe he should shut the fuck up until he's willing to stop using AI for his propaganda. But I just had to get that off my tits.
They're all gonna use it,
I feel he's just being racist at this point, regardless.
But he couldn't even really find real brown people burning a real flag. He's a cunt. You can find brown people burning a
I'm all
flag.
disappointed because I just learned that was one less flag burning that occurred in the world.
Shucks, Rose.
Oh, I mean, I'll burn a flag, but like, here's the thing.
Yeah. You should take their place. You should be his actual brown person. Be like, this is for Trump.
That's it.
Go viral.
Everybody burn a flag tonight for it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I hope
Rose.
I should put an affiliate link and get more sales. But
what were you gonna say though, Rose, real quick? Because
no, I was just saying, it's not like there's any shortage of people burning American flags around the world, given all the hate that
we need more though. We need more though.
Yeah.
So
you're right though. You're right. There's plenty of people out there, and I can feel better knowing that.
Yes.
But we need more.
Yes. What were you gonna say there, Rose? Was there somewhere?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was done.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
right.
so
it's like I thought I was responding. I'm sorry.
It's totally wires got crossed. This was a hectic stream. There were 10 viewers at one point, so at least we got some thing. I'm gonna check the live stream, see if we got any. Nope, we don't got any comments. So with that being said, I think we're close to wrapping. We'll call it before like 2 hours and 30. Anybody want to give a closing statement? We should start with Kareem and I guess finish with Christopher because he's like left the room.
Yeah. Christopher has left the chat. Is that kind of like Christ has left the chat?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm always like, Jesus has left the chat, y'all.
I hate closing statements. It's like writing a conclusion.
Yeah, right?
Like I'm like, by that point, I just have no idea what to write because I want to be done.
Yeah, that'd be done.
I saved my best for last.
Yeah, and that's
got my notes over here.
Really like high bar for everyone else.
Yeah.
When I'm interviewing, I pre-pick a question that I think is going to be like the best thing for a closing statement, and I set it aside, and I use that to help prompt people into one sometimes. But like otherwise, I can find them to be a little bit awkward.
Well, I'm
personally, my closing statement is literally that all of this shit is fascism, and if you can't fucking see that, you need to look harder.
Yes.
That's really, I mean, like, all I have to say about it. Aside from the fact that if you're queer out there, it doesn't matter if you're around statists or free folk, you need to have your head on a swivel.
Yes.
Do not trust, verify.
Kareem, you got some words?
Yes, I have some words.
We're doing closing statements, Christopher.
All right, you can follow me at Kareem6633 on Twitter, X, whatever the heck it's called, and our
Twitter.
Check out Mad Liberty. Good. There's
I forgot.
And have hopefully debate with ThoughtBat coming up and more content, and that's about it.
Hody.
So a lot of the issue with Project 2025 is on some level it's going to appeal to, I will be charitable here and say stupid libertarians. And they will be like, well, look, we want to get rid of discrimination laws. And this is largely true. If we're talking the anarchist end, we want to get rid of all laws. So you'll be like, oh, what problem do you have? I thought you didn't like the law. Here's the issue, is if there's going to be a law, it has to treat people fairly. Otherwise, this is how you get into any state that's like slavery or, or anything like that. So the issue with Project 2025 is that it wants to say, well, Christians can get this family bonus, but gay people can't get this family bonus. Or, hey, attacking a person because he's Christian can be considered a hate crime, but attacking somebody because they're trans can't be considered a hate crime. We're just kind of trying to dial that back. And the law must, if it must exist at all, it must treat people fairly. Otherwise, you're going to get unfair results. And that's really the biggest problem with 2025. Look at something like what happened with Black Wall Street, or what has happened when people, libertarians, sadly, some libertarians unfortunately love to quote really bad crime statistics and then just be like, these people must be more lawless. But you look at how the law will not investigate this crime, I mean, what, in Chicago these days, oh, is it a black person who died? Is it maybe a gang member who died? Oh, we're not really going to look into that then. Have fun on your own. Well, here's the thing, because they have the monopoly on doing investigations in the court system, that even though you as an anarchist might say, oh, good, this is a way of something that they can't do. They aren't going to investigate these crimes anymore. Good, I'll save some tax dollars. It's not good, because that means that they are going to have to figure out a way to take care of it themselves. And when people have to take care of it themselves, it's usually illegal, and then bad things are going to happen unless the entire system is destroyed, right? So while the system is up, we must make it fair. I mean, this is like saying that the IRS did a good thing by discriminating against like Tea Party members, right? Like, oh, good, they discriminated against the Tea Party members. That's at least something that they did wrong, and now there's less trust in the government. No, it's wrong. Like even if you're anti-trans, like wrong is wrong. People have to be treated fairly. That is just simply if the government must exist, it must be fair. And I think that that's something that libertarians should get on board on. From a Christian perspective, I want to say this, that good fruit comes from a good seed and bad fruit comes from bad seeds. And we have that promise within the scriptures that there is no way for a bad tree to produce good fruit and a good tree to produce bad fruit. And so we should be able to take the fruits of these attempts and laws and say, okay, I don't just want to measure what I think you're going to do, but what it is you actually do. When we look at people that live gay or trans lifestyles, are they hurting people? Are they killing people? Are they becoming more or less judgmental? Now, here's the thing. You may say, oh, I know a trans person that's incredibly judgmental. Okay. Is it all of them, though? And is it their trans lifestyle that's making them that way? Just like, oh, is it, you as a straight person are judgmental. Is it your straightness that's making you judgmental? Or are you just a human being, like every other human being? And we need to stop. We need to stop trying to make things something that they aren't. And we're trying to paint... I shouldn't say we, because obviously the people in the chat don't do this, but there are people who will try to make trans people into seeming like monsters or bad people, or, hey, I love them, but, they really shouldn't be trans. And this is just really, it's bigoted talk. And it has no place in the liberty movement. Let people's actions speak for themselves. The Bible has a verse that says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Mm-hmm. If people are living the wrong way, you don't need a government or Project 2025 or some policy to punish them. God's got it. That's his promise to us as Christians. Mm-hmm. We don't have to instill the punishment if you think they're living the wrong way. Now I want to make clear about this, is because it's critical to my faith that I don't believe they are living the wrong way. And here is why I can prove it with something like Project 2025, because they're keenly aware that left on their own without interference, trans people and gay people are just people, and they're going to produce very human results. They want to phrase this as a way as, oh, an attack on the family, because they want to make these poor people feel like they're bad family members for living the life that they want to live and having their bodies look the way that they want to look and loving who they want to love. But the truth is, we know that they won't produce any worse results than straight people, than cis people. And so we need to be able to say, hey, if it's wrong, if it's a sin, God promised. He's got it. He promised that he's got it. So you take God at his promise, or do you think God is a liar?
Nah, he needs some help.
Yeah, does he need a little government help to make sure, oh, let's just make extra sure that these people get punished for what they do? Listen, if what they're doing is wrong, the punishment's coming. Relax. God's got it. Your job, and there is just one Bible verse that you need to say this. For all the laws fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. We know what love is as Christians. Don't let anybody redefine that for you. Okay? People will attempt to tell you, oh, I hate them when I love them. It's a very hateful kind of love. Okay, well, read 1 Corinthians 13 again. Is it patient? Is it kind? Does it not boast? Does it hope for the best of the people that it's involved with? And when you see clearly that this isn't love, then you need to understand that There's something wrong with your faith. Now, you might not need to leave Christianity, but maybe you've already left Christianity, and Christianity's trying to get you back in there, get you back squared away with what the Spirit actually said, as opposed to what preachers have been saying for centuries so that you vote the way they want you to vote. Project 2025 is bad at so many levels, but most importantly, it's bad at a cultural level. This is something Christians need to be sounding the alarm on, because they are going to attempt to speak for you as Christians. Note how they already did it in what Jeremy said. They said, we want to return to what is biblical. They get to decide, not you, what is biblical. And so I'm over here, and I find it quite biblical to have gay people and trans people that are friends of mine, whom I love, living the way that they want to live. But that's not their kind of Bible. They want to be able to say what the Bible tells me to believe. They want to be able to say what my faith is and what my faith instructs them to do. Do not let them do it. If you are louder, I challenge Christians out there, if you don't like this, be louder than the left. Be louder than the trans and gay people who are affected by this. Say, no, I'm impacted by this as well, because they are targeting me and my faith, and I will take this as an assault on that, because they want to speak for your God and what your God says. They want to take the God that says, leave vengeance to me, and say, leave vengeance in the hands of Donald Trump and Steve Bannon and whoever the hell, Roger Stone and whoever the hell else Trump selects. Don't let them do it. Be loud, be proud Christians, and stand up when everybody else is sitting down on your side.
We'll do Rose, and then we'll do Chris.
Okay, well, those are some very big shoes to fill. I don't have anything nearly that impressive to say as my closing statement, so I'll just say, if you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook. Feel free to send me a friend request. I'm not currently trying to raise money for anything, so...
Except Rice.
Oh, yeah, so if... Yeah, I should share his GoFundMe. I have a friend who, one of our regular stream members who, could use some assistance at the moment. Other than that, I think that's basically it.
Yeah, if you wanted to be based, you could share it in the LAC Facebook group.
I've actually been meaning to do that.
You could share this stream there, and then in the comments, you could @ everyone with his thing.
I was just going to share the GoFundMe. Problem is with the @ everyone, that tends to piss off more people than, I've just noticed, anytime anyone uses the @ everyone tag, people just leave the group. They get weirdly, irrationally angry about it.
Then bye. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Okay. True.
That's my mentality. If they're going to be fucking snowflakes about an everyone tag, fuck them.
People get really irrational about it.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird thing to be irrational about.
For sure. Chris.
Well, the Fountainhead Forum is going along nicely. We're now over 200 shows, and it's been a blast. I finally set myself up on buymeacoffee.com, so people need to send me cash. They can do it there, and I may get some swag up soon. Other than that, it's been a very interesting time. You can find the Fountainhead Forum on Rumble, Odyssey, YouTube, and BitChute. And of course, I'm on Twitter at Fountainhead FM. So Fountainhead Forum was too long. So
yeah, Elon Musk only allows average things at best.
I think that limit was there before Musk. He just
Yeah, but I wanted to be a cunt.
14 character limit.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So it's I'm here in Atlanta at Dragon Con, which has been a very interesting experience. I got to meet a few interesting people, and of course, I'm flying back tomorrow. Hopefully, my political life will. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might take all this melee stuff and make it into a documentary, but we'll see what happens. It's been very interesting, so hopefully, I'll get some more good people on and keep things going. It's sometimes I do wonder if politics has been bad for me or good for me, though. It definitely seems to make me angry sometimes, and I don't know if it brings out the best in our people. So thanks for the panel this evening, and it's been a good conversation.
All right. And
thank you.
I will say, in terms of Malay, I'll be doing a stream with Jacob Winograd. He's going to moderate a debate between me and somebody who likes Malay. So I will be.
Who is that?
Jacob
Bleh.
I thought
Winograd.
you guys were doing a fascist stream because
Yeah, but
everyone
who's the other person?
is a fascist, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, and that's one of the things that I'll be doing is I'll be on with Hody in the beginning of like the next month, and I think what we're doing. Well, what are we doing? We're doing the 9/9 in the evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. So, y'all be sure to check that out. Both appearances there. I was also recently on the Bad Roman podcast, and I'm willing to go on your show as well, even if you're not a Christian anarchist, which seems to be the only people willing to invite me, other than MLTP, who I was also recently on. Feel free to check my presence out on all of these things. But my general point here is this is an ongoing trend of increasing fascism. If you side alongside people who are using eugenicist and eradicationist rhetoric, go fuck yourself. And if this is your version of libertarianism, you are the reason you need government, because nobody else needs government to do these sorts of things to make their culture what they think it should be. And if you're unable to use market forces to convince people of your culture, if you're unwilling to take the libertarian route and market your ideas better in the marketplace of ideas, it's because you are a shit marketer. It's not because LGBT people are indoctrinating or grooming or whatever. It's because you fucking suck. And this is why you need a tyrant like Trump, who also fucking sucks, to helm the country, so that he can force all your shit down everybody else's throat, while you claim that the real push is coming from the wokes and globo homo. Go fuck yourself. Eat shit. Smash the fucking state. All right, cool.